brought back up yet. Now let me go over here and zoom in on this one house so you can see some of this destruction. This house, you can literally see right through it. That is the kind of destruction that we are talking about today here in Putnam County. The Putnam County Sheriff telling us today that they are doing what they call hard searches in this area, which means that they are bringing excavators in to search through rubble, maybe people that are potentially in their basements that were hiding last night from this tornado. A deadly tornado again here in Cookeville. For now, reporting in Cookeville, Brooke Reese, News 2.
And that search and rescue operation continues that Brooke was talking about.
And as we continue to search, and people, you know, they got up this morning, they looked for certain things. It's incredible some of the things that we're finding. Take a look at your screen. This is a picture that was found near the Wilson-Smith County line. It's a woman. And this is just one of many pictures that we've heard about today, because Stephanie was talking about a wedding photo that I believe she found.
Oh,
It's
really?
just so many memories that are unfortunately just scattered around.
To the wind.
I hope somebody who knows this woman is watching and she can get that back, because sometimes, you know, those memories are, you know, you can't replace them.
Once in a lifetime
It's
stuff.
heartbreaking.
The sad part of this tragedy is when you lose basically everything. We've been hearing from our elected officials throughout the day, all wishing their best, all wanting to do what they can do. We heard from Democratic Congressman Jim Cooper. Here's what he had to say.
Madam Speaker, very early this morning, my hometown of Nashville, Tennessee, was terribly hard hit by a tornado. At least 19 lives have been lost, buildings were destroyed, many homes were destroyed, and countless lives have been disrupted. At least 34,000 people lost electricity. I've been in contact with our governor, our mayor, our entire congressional delegation, including my good friend John Rose, to do all that we can to bring emergency relief to the area as fast as possible. This is a genuine tragedy, and we need to praise our neighbors, our friends, our residents, first responders, our firefighters, police, EMTs, who worked all through the night despite fierce rains to provide first aid. Nashville is strong. We recovered so well after the terrible 2010 flood that many parts of America didn't even know we'd been suffering. Now is the time to beat this disaster. Thank you. I yield back the balance of my time.
Nashville Democratic Congressman Jim Cooper.
And those crews are working very fast. NES on their website. Now the power outages are down to 3,500.
They are working hard and around the clock.
It's great to hear that. Now we also heard from Governor Bill Lee a little bit earlier talking about his phone conversation with President Donald Trump.
The president called me today personally, extended his gratitude and his concern and his love for our people. The director of FEMA called me directly. I've probably had 10 governors reach out from across the country personally to me to offer help. So there's a real genuine coming together of people like we do, and you all are the heart of it, and this center right here is the very heart of it. So thank you very much for what you do. You make me proud, and I'm proud to be out there and represent what y'all are doing for Tennesseans.
You can feel that sense of community, people rallying around these victims, doing whatever it is they can do. We saw that earlier playing out today in all kinds of areas up in Germantown. News 2's Alex Dennis filed this report earlier this evening.
Can you take me back to the morning? What happened?
Just, you know, I'm only been here about a year and a half, and I'm used to heavy wind, and I got woken up by the heavy wind, and then all of a sudden there was a giant explosion.
Yeah.
And I got up and got into the hallway, and I thought that was it. I heard my window shatter, and I thought that was it. Ceilings are fine, you know, and then I opened my front door, and my gable is blocking my front door, and everything seemed livable. And then it started raining, and it started to seep through the drywall and started to form huge bubbles under the paint, and it just burst. It was like a giant zit, basically. It was a huge bubble of water, and then it just burst, and all the drywall caved in.
I heard you say you had your father with you?
Yeah.
How old is he?
73.
Oh, is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
He's fine.
Okay.
And yeah, just it was mad dad. Like it started here, and I like while the bubble was forming, I moved everything out of the kitchen, and I went to bed because the bedrooms are fine. And then an hour later, I heard a crash, and all the drywall fell here, and just
When the tornado ripped through the area, could you hear it? Could you feel it?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean,
What
it was
was
more
that
like,
like?
it was just a giant explosion, really. It felt like heavy winds and then a boom. And
What were you
I
thinking?
I knew it was a tornado.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just knew to get into the hallway, and now you see the aftermath.
All right. So I hear you say that you've got a truck coming.
Yeah, I got a buddy bringing a trailer, and
Okay.
as long as the freeways are open, he's coming from Lebanon.
Okay.
So,
All right. Well, we wish you all of the best.
well, thank you
Do
so
you have
much.
a place to stay?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Okay, good. I was going to
options.
say you can come on over to our house.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good luck to you as you get everything together, and
Thank
to
you.
your dad
Thank
too.
you so
okay?
much.
Thank you.
I'm running on no sleep right now, so
Bless your heart. I'm sure you are. All right, guys. Back to you.
thanks.
Stories of survival, people coping, people doing what they need to do to survive.
I want to send things back out to our Eric Egan. He is in Cookeville, specifically Putnam County. We just heard that debriefing at that press conference. Eric, can you kind of walk us through that new information that we learned?
Yeah, thanks, Erica. Of course, I was in attendance, for that press conference. The mayor of Cookeville calling this the saddest day in the history of his community. Officials here also saying this is the worst natural disaster ever to hit Putnam County. There's a sense of sadness here, and we got another number coming out. A bit of a contradiction, whether it's 18 that have passed away or 19. 19 was coming from the governor's office, but officials here, they're adamant that the number of deceased right now is at 18, and there are families involved, there are kids involved, and you sort of flash back and you put yourself in the shoes of the people to go through this. You're putting your kids to bed at night, you tuck them in, there's a sense of security, and then this happens, and no matter how much you prepare for it, there's really nothing you could do. It's really hard to swallow at this moment tonight for people across Middle Tennessee, especially here in Putnam County. If we haven't played it yet, we have some video of just gives you just a better point of view of the destruction to go through or to come across Cookeville and Putnam County, and people called it unrecognizable. You can't really make out what's a house and what was a building and what you're standing on top of. The search will continue tonight. Law enforcement, they do say they have about 60% of the search complete. That involves debris, that involves structures, but they will continue to work throughout the night. They started with about 250 crews helping. They're down to 60 people. One thing of note that I do want to pass along, there is a field of debris that there's concern over, and it's about 20 acres or so, and officials here telling me that they won't be searching that tonight because of darkness, because of a few other issues. It's kind of a swampy area there, and it's concerned because there could be more victims in that area, and those victims possibly were part of the subdivisions that they are searching tonight. So if we do have an update on numbers, there will be another update at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. If we do get an update at that time, there is some fear possibly that those numbers could increase, but in the meantime, there's a 8 o'clock curfew here across Cookeville. I do also want to mention schools are closed for the rest of the week. The Red Cross has set up a shelter for folks in town. It's at First Baptist Church. That's on Walnut Avenue. And I mentioned this phone number again, and I'm going to cycle through my paper real quick because I want to share it with you guys. A lot of people want to help across the area. There's a number to call, and you'll get information on how you can help. I'll say it slowly. It's 931, a local number here, 646-4636. Again, it was a long morning, it was a long day, it's going to be a long night ahead for these folks as they continue to search about 3 subdivisions is what they said. They got to dig through rubble, they got to dig through the debris of where some of these homes were standing. So there's a lot of work ahead. They're determined to do it, of course. There's a great sense of helping out and volunteering going on around us. So that is definitely a feeling of hope and positivity, and it's something that they're kind of clinging to at this point tonight, guys.
Our heart breaks for them. Eric, thank you so much for that valuable information. Bob.
As if we don't have enough challenges, it's dark outside now, adding to the challenges, adding to the danger out there. News 2's Danielle Breezy is in Donaldson tonight, and it's dark out there. Danielle?
Hi there. How are you guys? I am out here live. Yes, I am in the Donaldson area. I've been here all afternoon. It is now turned dark, and you can see, obviously, behind me, we have lit up as much as we can. But really, right now, we don't have any power still. So that's kind of the danger as we head into this evening. Now, this is a neighborhood that most of the homes have been damaged. And I want to bring my friend. Come on in here, Shannon. And now you drove into here. Where do you live right now?
We live in Nashville, South Nashville.
Right. Now, I want to just go back to last night. You were watching, right?
Yes.
And you were watching News 2, and tell me a little bit about what you did.
Well, our electricity flickered and you appeared, and you said, you told us where the tornado was going, and we happen to have family out here, and I just told my husband, hey, we need to see if they're okay.
Right.
Like what you were saying. And so he texted him and asked him if they were in their safe place, and she texted back and said, it just hit us. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So, yeah, and your relatives are a house in this neighborhood.
Yes.
How is the damage for them?
Their house is a complete loss.
Wow, but they are okay.
They are okay. Nobody was hurt.
And I saw that earlier today. You guys are kind of going through this stuff, right? But you think this is going to be a little bit of a longer process,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But I thought what's really neat about this neighborhood, and tell me if you don't think it, I feel like there were so many people on about kind of helping.
Yes. Oh my goodness. We were just across the street just before it got dark, and just so many people rushed over to help. And I mean, it just brought tears to my eyes to see the community coming together, and people we don't even know just coming and saying, hey, what can I do? And they're throwing stuff in boxes with us, and where can I put this? And I mean, it's amazing.
And it is amazing. And one thing I thought that was really awesome about this community too, most of these homes do have basements or low levels below ground. And I honestly believe, because this was an EF3, winds of 160 to 165 miles an hour, that's almost EF4 status.
Yeah.
I think the basements helped really save their lives.
Oh, yes. If they hadn't made it down to their basement, I mean, I just saw their house, and it's awful.
It is awful.
So,
but the other thing I would say is, as much as this devastation is awful, I mean, we could see all this stuff behind us in another person's lawn. I'll tell you this: the energy in this community, I felt, was so positive.
Yeah. Oh, yes, it was. It was. I mean, just my family over there, they're like, it doesn't matter if it can make it through the tornado, it can make it through you packing it. So.
That is a good way to look at things.
I mean, it's very positive vibes out here.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I'll let you, I know you're getting back to packing things up and helping them out, though, but I appreciate you stopping by. And I appreciate you, of course, watching and taking the warning seriously and helping people.
Thank you.
Oh, of course. We love to keep everybody safe and informed here, and that's one of the things we did do last night. Mary and I were on air all night long saying, if you know someone, call a friend. This tornado potentially may have started west of Nashville. That's Davidson County, okay? Going all the way. Now, we don't know if it's continued all the way on the ground, but could have gone through Wilson County and into Smith County before it finished up. That would be a very long track tornado. Now, it may have had two different paths. We're not sure yet, but along the way, when it got here in Donaldson, it strengthened to the strongest it was the entire time, with winds of 160 to 165 miles an hour. So, guys, I can say this tonight. I know it's dark and I know they don't have power, but nobody is hurt in this community, and that is really good news. I'm going to send it back into you.
It's basically a miracle. You talked to many survivors today, Danielle. It is dark out there now. How different does it feel with no power in that complete subdivision with all these homes and you can't see anything?
It's got to be eerie.
I mean, it is eerie. That's what I said. As soon as the sun went down, it made me a little nervous. It kind of gets you a little scared. But I will tell you this. Some of the folks are going to find warmer pastures somewhere with power, but other folks are riding it out. And some of the nice neighbors here have allowed me to use their bathroom in candlelight. So it has been a really nice atmosphere. They've let us in, and they're staying. And they said, we're going to stay through it. We can make it through this. We can make it through anything.
You know what reporters are great at in disaster scenes? Finding the bathroom.
Holding it and finding a bathroom. I remember that. And they're all laughing at the control room.
We can laugh a little bit.
Yeah, another smile. I think we all need that right now. Gabby, are we taking that Mount Juliet drone footage right now? Okay, so there we go.
This is that warehouse that just collapsed on itself.
Just crazy to see that roof. And then this was the FedEx one, correct? Because you can see
all
the trucks,
FedEx trucks there.
down at the bottom.
So who knows what's inside this building that's now buried, what packages that didn't get delivered, and whose packages are never going to get delivered, and you're never going to see them again because that building's unsafe. Nobody can go in there. They'll have to do an assessment before they could possibly retrieve anything.
Listen, we're going to see a lot of impacts from this storm, and we're just sorting it out right now. We have sound from Putnam County right now, I believe. Let's listen to that.
But we still feel like we're in emergency mode right now. As the mayor described and we talked about earlier, the homes are just decimated. So a lot of those homes have basements. And so we feel like some of the folks may still be in there. So we're working really hard to try to go through those one at a time and to do those kind of things. So it's a major scene down there right now.
Yeah, that's the search and rescue going on in Putnam County. They have brought lights in, they have excavators. There's at least one, maybe more houses that have collapsed, and this is the point of concern. They don't know if anyone's in the basement. They can't get to the basement, so they're trying to clear the debris to see if anybody's in there. And there's at least 4 different neighborhoods where there are similar scenes that they're trying to find, see if anyone is still trapped.
They've also mentioned that they did have one case of looting, which we absolutely hate reporting to you. We hate seeing that. You know, stay at home. We don't need to make any of these matters worse. People are devastated right now, understandably, and this is a tragedy that we're looking at right now. And actually, what we're seeing is new video from our sister station, WATN. I believe this is Germantown. So just another view of what they went through last night. And look at that building right there. It's awful. Yep. And then
the damage was extensive in Germantown. There again, some more drone video. You can see the debris spewed around the area, trees down. You know, it's the whole area is just devastated. Power still out in much of Germantown. And you see the skyline of Nashville. And, you know, after this tragic day or night last night, then it was just a beautiful day as folks tried to pick up the pieces.
And we're talking about Germantown. Thankfully, the Sound Stadium sounds like it was untouched for the
Corey
most part.
Curtis said it was missed. The Nissan Stadium was missed as the tornado traveled from North Nashville into East Nashville. And you see some more Germantown video and some damage there. Roof's gone, going to have to be replaced. And these are all relatively new structures.
Yes,
This Germantown area has grown dramatically over the last few years. A lot of new residents, a lot of new buildings. So the damage is going to be going to take a while to get repaired.
Yes, it will. Another area that was impacted by the storm, East Nashville. Let's check in with Elizabeth Lane. We do want to mention that this was shot earlier in the day.
Chaos is the best way to describe what we're seeing in East Nashville in the Five Points community. I'm going to step out so that you can get a closer look at exactly what we're talking about here. This light pole completely leveled, just bent at the bottom of the base of it. That speaks to the strength of these winds in this severe weather event. We've got fire alarms from businesses going off. This high pressure water coming out of these fire hydrants. And if we pan over just a little bit to your right, you're going to see a dollar store that used to be in that area completely leveled. And that is the story with many businesses in this area. If you pan over to your right a little bit, we're going to see Boom Boz Pizza. And I spoke with the owner of this restaurant just a few minutes ago. He says that he, like many other business owners, got up in the middle of the night, woke up to that phone call, those sirens, those alerts, and came to check on his business because he's very concerned. They're heading into March. That's their busiest time of the year. And he says he's very concerned that this is going to be a devastating loss for them. If we pan over a little bit over here, you're going to see lots of first responders trying to get up South 10th Street. They're making their way as safely as they can, just like we are, through these power lines. They're trying to respond, make sure that no one is trapped or injured in these areas, but then also get a better look at the debris to see what they can do to hopefully eliminate some of this and get going on what will arguably be a very long process of cleaning up. As of 3:30 this morning, Metro Nashville police confirmed at least 2 fatalities have happened as a result of this severe weather event. Definitely something to take very seriously. We're going to continue to monitor this situation. Reporting in downtown Nashville, I'm Elizabeth Lane.
Yeah, that was the scene obviously early this morning.
Yeah, and around 3 a.m.
Yep.
We also learned that those 2 people that Elizabeth mentioned that unfortunately were killed, they were hit by debris.
The numbers have changed dramatically since then. We now know that 25 people have died, 18 in Putnam County, 3 in Wilson County, 2 Davidson, 1 in Benton County, at least 88 people injured in Putnam County, more than almost 300 statewide that we know of that have been reported have been injured. This is some of the video, some of the damage in the Donaldson area. Trees just completely flattened, homes knocked off their foundations, roofs are gone. And this is the scene throughout the 75-mile track. It began in North Nashville in the Rosa Parks area, moved to East Nashville, then into Donaldson, Mount Juliet, Lebanon, and on into Cookeville.
We're still trying to figure out if this was one tornado, multiple, but it had different strengths throughout the night. And we will bring you that information, obviously, as we get that. Davis Nolan is still here. He is tracking what happened last night, and we will keep you posted. But, Bob, looking at these images, they're just awful. They break my heart, and I think they break everybody else's in Nashville as well. So we will have deadly tornado outbreak coverage. It starts in about 4 minutes, and we will be live for you until 10:30. Right now, you were looking over the Nashville skyline. Let's go back to that graphic showing that coverage starting at 7 p.m. Again, we will be live with you, showing you these images and speaking to all of our reporters that are out on scene tonight until 10:30. So
stay with us. We'll be right back. We'll continue our coverage in moments.
If you live in Davidson County right now, you need to go down to the lowest level, a room with no windows. This is seriously very important, folks.
When you show up, nothing can really prepare you for that.
It looks like a war zone. I mean, it's shocking. I just try to go inside. You can't even get it through the inside.
And it looks like almost the worst case scenario, guys.
I was literally about to lay down to go to sleep, and my friend's phone goes off and says to take shelter.
We were home last night, and we had the Channel 2 app, and every time we hear Daniel Breezy, our dogs go crazy. So it kept coming on, and we got up, grabbed the dogs, saw everything on our deck go flying. We ran downstairs, sheltered in place, and when we came back, but walking around here and seeing neighbors with their houses gone.
The power crews are also out here trying to get the lights back on. So it's a mix of trying to make sure that everyone is safe and accounted for.
Now that the sun's come up, we're able to find a lot more of the damage here from last night's tornado. As you can see behind me, this is one of the roadways and parking lots here in 5 Points. Wood has been completely ripped off buildings and just torn down. You can see several of these cars must have been parked here overnight. It looks as if they've been picked up and dropped here. Their windows broken, doors opened, poles completely fallen on these cars. Absolute destruction here.
Yeah, the sky has been really telling and really heartbreaking. So we want to show you some drone video from photojournalist Armando Morales. It's pretty telling of the kind of damage we're looking at.
And the damage is just almost indescribable, but let's just do a little arc for you. That's the interstate over there, and we just talked to some truckers here, and they're down power lines, so watch these, Hector. But that truck flipped over. We just talked to a couple of guys that were inside of it. They told us they knew it was bad when the windows in the truck just started exploding out. And then there was a change in atmospheric pressure. Then they hit the ground and put a blanket over their head, and then they were breaking out windows to rescue people.
There are dozens of homes that have been completely wiped out, roofs off the top of houses. They just closed off this road. We're on Downey Mead Drive, and they just closed off this road because the odor of the gas in the air is unreal, and they're shutting off the gas right now. So that we have gas companies, fire departments down there working on this right now. So that's the activity.
I'm here on Main Street in East Nashville. I kind of wanted to walk you through what's going on through the area. Crews have been out here cleaning, but we are seeing residents now coming out and assessing the damage. That sign has sat atop that building since about the 40s. So that's just one indicator that the storms that moved through this area were so strong. We have vehicles that are tipped up over on their side. I spoke to the Fieldhouse Jones owners. They flew in from Chicago earlier this morning. They said they could not believe the damage that was done in such a short amount of time.
Welcome back to our continuous coverage of this deadly day of weather in Middle Tennessee. At least 25 people known to have died. The destruction is devastating.
We hate hearing those numbers. We want to get right to News 2's Brent Ramonda. Brent, you are live downtown where a vigil will be taking place shortly, and you have the mayor there with you.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. As you go around, you see all the damage, and Mayor Cooper, you know, we're just talking about that. It's almost surreal to walk around and see just how devastating this storm was.
Well, it is so concentrated. It's just putting a finger in an area and shocking how the force that was being applied to a small part of real estate. It breaks your heart, and then the people inspire you who've been so devastated. They are helping each other's neighbors. It's a great moment for Nashville despite all the trauma.
You know, when you got up and you heard the news, what's going through your mind, you know, as a resident of Nashville, but also as the man in charge?
Well, early this morning at the command center, nobody really knew the level of devastation. You knew it was serious, but it took daylight, I think, really to walk around some of these neighborhoods and realize what had happened in 15 and 20 seconds. And how many people, how lucky we are. And that's the overwhelming feeling I get from so many people. We had casualties, we had fatalities, but it could have been so much worse. If you just look at the damage, the number of houses, buildings that are collapsed, oh my goodness, at any other time of day, if it had been during the school day, if it had been during the business hours, you would have had really probably horrific casualties.
You know, we're here at Public Square Park, a vigil forming, you know, people starting to kind of gather. You know, what does this mean for people who might be homeless tonight or have had somebody that was injured?
Well, we can't do justice by them. I think it's a way, particularly people on the council, to get together to express solidarity with each other and just to reach out and in a way give each other a hug, which is what we all need to be doing to our loved ones today. Life is fragile. We saw that last night, and we have to learn from that and reach out to each other, and particularly those who've been made homeless, particularly those in need. Now, Nashville has been super generous. Over 5,000 people have gone on a website to volunteer. There's really coming up to 400, maybe $500,000 of gifts that have come in online already. There are over 35 businesses that now have volunteered to help. That's a great moment for our community, just spontaneously to reach out, and we're going to need that tonight and then the days ahead.
You know, I want to talk about two more points here. The first responders, I mean, we got out here in the middle of the night, and they're leaving their families behind. They're getting out. They've got a tough job ahead. You know, how important are they to keeping?
Well, they're everything. And then for some weeks, let's recognize there's going to be lots of overtime. They're not going to go home. And then let's include our NES trucks in that too. Those guys are not going to have any sleep at all for a long time, but everybody's dedicated to working 24/7 to get people back online, to get power restored. Too many people tonight don't have power, but it's going to be hard to repair those poles one at a time. It's everybody. It's Public Works, it's Metro Water. I've never been so proud of a group of people working together as I am today, and I've never been so inspired as I am going out in all the devastation, the cheerfulness and pluck and spirit of everybody. It's completely inspiring to me and everybody that has seen it.
As they say, sometimes the worst of times bring out the best in people.
Bring out the best, and that's here. We're a resilient city, and people are waiting for the moment when the power comes on so we can start to rebuild.
You know, last thing here, just for all the Nashvillians watching here, all the people who have been affected or know someone who has, what message do you have for them tonight and moving forward?
Well, keep the faith. Let's rebuild. It's a great city. It's a terrible event, but we can overcome it. And we can overcome it with each other.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us here. Again, that vigil here tonight, Mayor Cooper out here, some council members as well, and we'll be talking to them throughout the evening here. But if you have a moment, certainly stop by and stand together. It's certainly a tragic event here. A lot of people suffering here in Nashville, and a lot of people will continue to suffer as the days goes on. We've seen a lot of people stepping up to the plate. I've seen a few bars opening up their doors in Germantown, a few restaurants as well. But again, this is something that a lot of people are dealing with. Certainly a tragic event here. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Brent. Every leader faces a challenge. We see Mayor Cooper facing this challenge head on.
A strong message from Mayor Cooper. I want to get to some bullet points if you're just joining us. Deadly tornado outbreak. We're still looking at 25 people killed. That's at least 25 people killed. A state of emergency has been declared in Tennessee. This happening in Davidson, Wilson, Putnam, hardest hit areas. And then we did learn today President Trump will be visiting the Putnam County area, I believe, on Friday. And Governor Bill Lee actually spoke to President Trump on the phone earlier today. We heard from him. And I did want to update everybody. I am on the NES website right now. The total number of customers impacted right now sits at 35,796, and that is still down dramatically from what we saw earlier today.
Yeah, like 55,000. One of the hardest hit areas, Donaldson. A lot of damage there. News 2 Stephanie Langston is there tonight. Steph?
Well, Bob, I'll tell you, the vibe is much different here now that it's dark. A lot of folks sitting in the dark, of course, without electricity, riding this out by candlelight. We have some folks over here hammering away on their roof. We have some folks across the way over there still digging up what's left behind. Homes around here, dozens of homes have been wiped out, hundreds of homes without the roofs on top. This is a home that I want to show you just because you can see the brick missing on the side here. Of course, it's dark, so it's hard to see all the devastation, but this you can see very clearly. This man had quite a story. I talked to him a couple of times today. He actually got trapped inside and didn't have any oxygen, and they ended up finally getting oxygen to him and then having him taken to the hospital. He spent most of the day at the hospital, but his stuff is still strewn all around here, and he could really use some help. We have seen a lot of folks come out here to lend help. Random strangers have been building roofs and picking up pieces for folks. This home is completely wiped out. This home is completely wiped out. And this is probably the most significant story that I've heard since I've been out here all day long. This woman was asleep on the couch in her living room, and it was around 1 o'clock when she heard the tornado coming through. She woke up and she just hit the ground, knelt to the ground, covered her body, and started praying. And I think we have some sound from her. If we could play that so you can get a listen to what she had to say about it. Maybe we don't have that sound right now. Well, we'll try to get that for you a little bit later on in the show. But she ended up praying and coming out. The rubble just buried her, and she ended up seeing a neighbor and yelling for help who had to come over and pull her out of that. And when she came out, it's just a really unique story that this T-shirt that's very special to her that was in a dresser had flown up and is on a board, and it's flying over what's left of her home, which is nothing, essentially. It's just a pile of rubble. And you have this cross on a T-shirt just hanging there. And so she's just talking about, what a sign this was from God that she was able to survive and is just left with a few scratches right now. So again, some folks out here riding it out in the dark, some folks still working, some folks still picking things up, and others are inside cold at candlelight. Bob?
Steph, we've talked about numbers all day long, the numbers of people injured and the sad number of people who have died. There's no way to put a number on it, but just looking in your neighborhood, how many families, how many people are without a home tonight, just in that one area where you are?
Bob, it's really hard to explain. When I came in this morning, I've been doing this a long time, 15 years at least, I'd never seen anything like this. This neighborhood is nearly wiped out. I mean, every road, of course, the trees were covering the roadways, but the homes were just wiped out. And of course, the school over there, it's unrecognizable. It's gone. And we've kind of been tethered, to our truck. So we've only seen like these few homes that just have like these one buildings there. But I took a drive around. We had a little break a minute ago, and before it got dark, and this goes on for blocks and blocks and blocks. So I talked to the councilman in this area, and he said probably 36 homes are wiped out. And he said probably around 100, if not more, homes don't have roofs on top of their houses anymore. So a lot of folks having to rebuild now.
And a lot of these folks tonight staying with friends, staying with family. This exponentially grows the need that this creates because of those loss of homes.
It's just awful. And Stephanie was explaining how powerful it is when you see it in person. I have yet to see this devastation in person. I don't know about you.
I haven't seen this one, but I've seen tornadoes, and it's just heartbreaking.
It is. And we have just gotten such great reports from all of our reporters, giving us a fantastic perspective of what things really look like out there. Let's go to East Nashville now. That's where News 2's Alex Dennis is standing by.
Good evening, Erica and Bob. I am joined by Council Member of District 6, Brett Withers. Thank you so much for being here, Brett. I know it's been an incredibly long and busy day, and you and I were just chatting about how iconic this sign is that's now on the ground here behind us.
That's right. It's been just an incredible run, starting about 12:40 last night, so hope for a quieter night tonight.
What have you been seeing as you've been driving around the area this evening and speaking to constituents?
I'm once again amazed and impressed by how East Nashvillians want to help each other. We have a reputation for kind of conflict and liking to argue about things sometimes on social media, but it's really heartening to see that when there is a need, that this community will come together and help each other.
Just give it some perspective for people that come through this area on a regular basis. Some of the things that we know and love about this area. 5 Points. Right here, we've got, the new hotel going up. There's so much revitalization in this area, and now devastation.
Yeah, but There is a lot of that. In particular, East End Methodist Church is one. It's a historic church. They've been working through a couple of capital campaigns for many years, sort of to recover from the last tornado in '98 in some cases. So you have some places that are just now recovering from a tornado from 22 years ago that are having to start all over again. So that's really devastating.
What are some of the other landmark things in the area that have been damaged? Parts of 5 Points, I know.
A lot of 5 Points. The former turnip truck location, which is now Burger Up, that building is heavily damaged. The
Pizza joint in that area too.
Well, the Pizzeria is okay. They just have light roof damage, so they will be open in a couple days. But Boom Ba's, which opened nearby that, lost the roof. They hope to reopen, but they have a lot of work to do. The YCAT building was nearly totally destroyed. Lots of really great houses sustained a lot of damage. Further back into the neighborhood, or the area around 19th and Holly, kind of getting almost to the golf course, almost totally leveled. So very few of those houses now appear to be in feasible condition.
We had some drone video of that, and it was absolutely devastating to see that part of town. Will you also talk about, right here not too far from us, we did have 2 deaths in East Nashville.
That's right. If you go to this next traffic light up at McFerrin, we had 2 deaths last night. It was folks who were leaving a local bar called Attaboy. They were trying to make it to their car and tragically didn't make it. It seems that as they exited the building, there's a building on a corner of Main and McFerrin that's a cinder block building that exploded, and the debris killed a young lady, unfortunately. We don't know the full details, but it appears that the young man that was with her was thrown all the way, perhaps across Main Street, where he died as a result of his injuries. So very, very heartbreaking. The one thing I do say is that we did have 2 deaths. There were folks in our community. The gentleman worked at Attaboy. The young lady worked at Lock on Table. Very, very near and dear to our hearts here in East Nashville. We did lose 2 neighbors in their prime, in their mid-30s, and that's a tragedy. But also reflect on how many people we could have lost because the 5 Points bars were still open, people were still out and about. It could have been so much worse than it was. And even when you look at like Putnam County, where the numbers of deaths are so much higher. So I believe that we have a tragic loss of 2 people, but we're very fortunate as well that we didn't have more deaths.
Where can people go for help, or who should they be calling?
We have a lot of people, mostly who are calling us wanting to help. The main way to do that is through Hands on Nashville if you want to volunteer, if you have skills or things like that. A lot of different sort of churches and organizations are collecting materials. I would like to give a plug for this area in Lockdown Springs. Our historic Holly Street Fire Hall sustained a lot of damage, but they are collecting bottled waters and supplies there on the porch. So please, if you have stuff, drop it by. That's right by the center of where a lot of damage was in the Lockdown Springs neighborhood. It'll be easy to get it to folks there. So. And
I know you're encouraging everyone to stay home as the power is still out in this area, but election polls are still open until 8 o'clock.
Yes, so I will give you a pass if you're voting. But
okay.
But other than that,
stay home.
Other than that, that's right. For folks, a lot of folks are without power, probably staying sheltered. You're probably going to be okay. It's not going to be terribly cold tonight, we hope. So encourage people to stay in. It's been a long night, a rough day. Just encourage people to rest up for the night and
then it's time to rebuild
for the morning. The police department, I'm not aware yet that they've issued a curfew per se, but there are concerns about folks driving into the community and causing trouble. Okay. And so the police will have a lot of presence, we hope, trying to determine if people are coming and going in the neighborhood, why they are doing that, because with it being so dark, there really isn't a good reason to be out.
Thank you so much for being here, and as everyone works together, thank you so much. Bob and Erica, I'm going to send it back to you guys tonight out here in East Nashville.
Alex, thank you so much. And of course, our prayers go out to the victims involved in that. We actually do have them listed here. 36-year-old Michael Dolfini and 33-year-old Aubrey Sexton. Those are the 2 victims who died tragically in the storm last night in East Nashville.
This is Eric Egan made the drive from Nashville to Putnam County, some of the hardest hit areas, the biggest death toll. 18 people died, and there's still a search and rescue effort going on in Putnam County tonight. Eric?
Hi there, guys. Thank you, Bob. We're inside the Putnam County Emergency Services building right now. About an hour or so ago, we got an update giving us some of the most recent numbers tied to just a tragic morning and day that we've experienced out here. Again, 18 dead, 18 are confirmed dead here in Putnam County. Some 88 people were treated for injuries. There are also 77 unaccounted for still at this hour. That seems like an astronomical number. Of course, searching is still going on, and we know that self-service has been extremely limited. So the hope is that number will come down dramatically in a good way, of course, once the lines of communication open up a little bit better. I want to go to some video if we do have that available. We were able to get our News 2 drone up in the air just to try to get a sense of the scope of this tornado that just ransacked this area. I want to go back as well to, again, that number 18 people have lost their lives here today, and we don't know their identities, but we do know that some of them were children. And as a dad, and so many of us are parents, you think about laying your kids down for the night to go to sleep, and you tuck them in or whatever you might do, whatever your routine is, and you think they're going to be safe, and they, you know, there's that sense of security. And when something like this happens, it's just stripped away, and it's really hard to kind of get that out of my head, and just to be in the shoes of the people walking through their subdivision, walking in front of what was their business or maybe their home, and not even being able to recognize it. It's really hard to fathom. In fact, the mayor here, again, said about an hour ago that this, of course, is the saddest day in the city's history. And that's nothing but the truth. The searches is still continuing at this hour. About 60% of the search is complete. 250 workers or so were working throughout the day. That number is down to about 60 crew members out there. And what they're doing is, even late at this hour, while of course it's dark out there, they're going to bring in some lights. They still have to dig, though, through this rubble. They have to dig possibly into basements. The hope is that there are some survivors, some people in there, maybe that they can help and get out, of course, that don't have a cell phone battery, that can't make a call, but are still in there hanging on. That's what so many people here are clinging to. It's also important to mention there's a field that's adjacent to some of these homes. It's about a 20-acre field law enforcement was telling us about here. They can't search that at night for a number of safety reasons, but there is a chance there are some victims in that field. So, of course, a sobering stat right there that we're going to have to sort of get through the night and await another update around 8 o'clock tomorrow morning is what they told us. Lastly, we expect a visit now from Senator Marsha Blackburn. She's expected to tour this site tomorrow. And then again, as we mentioned a bit earlier, President Trump, he's expected to come to Putnam County and Cookeville on Friday. So these are things we'll be watching. Again, it's been a long morning and day, and it's gonna be a long night, but there is a ton of support out here, a ton of support across these communities and these people living there. Again, the unaccounted for list of 77 people, we are awaiting for all of those names from emergency services here, because they want us to share that, to get the word out again, to try to bring that number down, of course, in the best way possible. So these are the things we're still watching, and we'll keep you updated on them.
Eric, quick clarification, if we could, on the missing people, the unaccounted for, that number 77. They do not believe all those people are in danger. Correct. There's a real belief that a lot of these people are without cell phone service, without power, but they are also unsure of what is in some of these collapsed buildings. So there's kind of a two-pronged approach going on here. They're searching for folks that they don't know might be in there, but they don't think all of these people are trapped.
Right.
Yeah, and if I can add, that's the hope, really. That number 77 is awfully high, and they don't think the worst, of course, of those 77. But if you're out there and you see them digging into these basements, moving debris, it is a tough job. But just hats off to them, because they are not slowing down, and they've done a ton of work. And there's so much support for them, and people bringing out food, people bringing out water, whatever they might need, they're getting. Again, that's some positivity to find, and just a tough day.
Yeah. Our hats off to those first responders.
Putnam County, where the search continues tonight.
Yeah, Eric, thank you so much. Davis Nolan, you are here, and you said that the National Weather Service will be surveying the damage tomorrow at 8 a.m.?
No, tentatively possibly. They say that tomorrow they hope to go there. They're going to make the decision in the morning. It could change, but they did let me know that tentatively that's what they plan to do. And, just talking about Putnam County, during our Severe Weather Awareness Week last week, I talked about the great outbreak of 1974, the super outbreak. And Tyler Smith, who's the director of Putnam County EMA, and his brother Marty Smith, who's older and he's retired from what was back then the civil defense in Putnam County. They came to tell me about the outbreak of 74, and Marty was 20 at the time. They were in church, and he and his dad, who was the head of the civil defense at the time, went out in the middle of the night, flashlights, and he was telling us, he literally would bump into bodies. and his voice would just choke up. And you know, we're sitting here and we said, God, just hope nothing like that ever happens again. This is like a couple of weeks ago. I'm talking to him, and we said, you know, unfortunately, it will one day. We just, you know, we just hope it's not as bad or something. And here they are in the same situation. It's just incredible.
Awful.
But they do hope to go survey the Weather Service at least. And so far, 25 people. Bob, you and I were talking. You've been here over 40 years. I've been here 38. Can you remember anything like that?
Well, this really reminds me an awful lot of the '98 tornado for a lot of reasons. The path of the storm, the destruction in East Nashville, and the scene we're seeing of neighbors helping neighbors. That 22 years ago, it was the same thing. People were grabbing their chainsaws, heading over to East Nashville, trying to clear trees away so folks could get out of their houses. And we're seeing that same thing again.
I think that's just the spirit in the volunteer state. But Bob, I do want to add, you were talking about how that path of that tornado, that hit downtown specifically, and if that happened last night,
it was a few miles further south.
Okay.
Went across Centennial Park. A person was killed in Centennial Park, and then came really right across downtown Nashville.
You said all the glass
and
was
that's
falling.
20 years ago when there was a lot fewer people. There was nobody living downtown, basically, just a few hundred.
There weren't all those condos.
And there were not all these buildings, and still the city streets were filled with glass for days. Glass was falling for days from those buildings, and you can imagine what that scene would look like now with all of these new high-rises, all of these new thousands of people that live downtown.
And maybe, you know, we know this is, as far as the schools were concerned, like in Wilson County, we saw West Wilson Middle, you know, pretty much if kids had been in there, that would have been a bad situation. And maybe even adults if they'd all been downtown in their businesses. Of course, like you say, they're living there now. But
there's never a good time for a storm. Certainly the
No,
middle of
it's
the night is
awful.
not a good time, but you don't want it during the middle of the day either when people are scattered, their kids are in schools, and you can't get to them. It's a panic situation.
The amazing thing is back in 1998, there was one fatality. It was a Vanderbilt student
It truly
who
is
was in
amazing.
Centennial Park. And this time, it's just unimaginable what's going on. Now, we do have reports from the surveys that the National Weather Service has done. They've been very busy today, folks. And I thought I'd show you those right now because they've included now John C. Toon Airport and, of course, the Germantown area. So if we could take the graphics here, I'll show you what they found so far. We'll start here in Davidson County. EF3 damage for East Nashville, Mount Juliet, and Donaldson. East Nashville 136 to 140, Mount Juliet 155 to 160, and Donaldson 160 to 165. That's where Danielle's been showing you the damage. Now Germantown 125 at EF2, and John C. Toon Airport, where it really first touched down, was at 130 as an EF2. Now, of course, we also have tornadoes. The same storm touched down in both Carroll County and Benton County. Yeah, just north of the Walmart in the northern fringes of Camden County. We have one fatality there. The Memphis National Weather Service do say a high-end EF2, and that means 111 to 135, so they think close to 135. They said their winds will be determined here as time goes on. And you may remember earlier in the evening we had tornadoes in Kentucky and in the Crofton area. That's become determined at EF1 with 90-mile-per-hour winds. Warren County, where Bowling Green is, just south through southeast of there, EF2 with 115 to 120, I think, miles per hour here. Now, it was mostly EF3 damage as it went across West Davidson County and the Germantown area through eventually East Nashville, Mount Juliet, and Lebanon. And then it's the same storm that ended up in the Buffalo Valley, going through Smith County, eventually Baxter into the Cookeville area where all the problems occurred. The National Weather Service, as we say, hopes to survey that tomorrow. I want to show you a nice long time lapse. You see that storm right in the middle of your screen? That's the one storm that did it all. Now, whether it lifted the tornado a couple of times, we think it did lift between Camden and Nashville because the National Weather Service got no more reports of the tornado on the ground as it went right near Waverly, right near Dixon, through the Charlotte area as well. So they dropped the tornado warning. Then it really intensified right when it got to western Davidson County, and that's when it roared across Nashville as well as Wilson County, eventually to Smith County, as well as into Putnam County, unfortunately. So it was quite a storm there.
Tell me if this was a little unusual for a tornadic storm. After the tornado passed, I could see from Williamson County the lightning over Nashville. It was unbelievable last night, about 2 in the morning.
Well, one thing that was strange, and you know, meteorologists, you always learn something here, is when they first put the tornado watch out, they did not include Putnam County in those eastern counties. And I was on the air with Danielle, and I was showing, look, the temperatures are in the 50s there.
Right.
So they're cooler. We're in the 60s. Now, there's a chance those temperatures could warm up at the last second, and I guess they did. And then they extended that watch over to include them, but unfortunately, we all got fooled a little bit on that eastern section. Not for Nashville, but for that eastern section, you learn something new every time when it comes
And as
to
much
this
as the
business.
technology has improved for you guys being able to predict, still the paths can change dramatically quickly.
Oh, yeah, they really can. And, you know, the Storm Prediction Center, we call those guys the rock stars in Norman, Oklahoma. You remember they were looking at tornadoes for generally mostly western Middle
Right.
Tennessee, and ends up the worst tragedies were in eastern Middle Tennessee. And don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing those guys. They are literally the smartest people in the world. But this is weather. Okay, there's nobody that's got it that down perfectly.
Hey, David, speaking of weather, what is the forecast for the rest of the week? We saw so many people out there today cleaning up. They're going to be doing that for the rest of the week.
Well, we can go back to the graphics. Actually, I think my next slide, I'll double check. Yeah, showing you the radar out there right now. We can take that. There are some showers looming to our south, and maybe if I can sneak over there and get future tracker. Some of those showers are going to slip into Middle Tennessee. So, but we think most of them will be generally from I-40 and southward. Now, I can't rule out Nashville maybe getting a taste of those showers. I want to show you a future tracker, and this is for cleanup efforts. Overnight tonight, you see the clouds, perhaps a shower, mostly our southern counties. And then here we are at 11 a.m. in the morning. Notice those showers just trying to get close to Nashville and to the damaged areas, but barely. And then you notice it's mostly in our southern counties. So I-40 southward, we can't rule out some showers tomorrow. I hope they stay a little farther south than that.
Yeah, Davis, appreciate the update and the information. And hopefully it stays dry out there while folks are trying to repair and recover.
Fingers crossed. Danielle Breezy joining us live from Donaldson again. How's it going out there? You were talking a little bit earlier about how eerie it is now that it's dark.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it definitely is eerie out here. It's a little scary because there is no power out here right now. So, it's hard to see, and everything is dark at this point. But I will tell you this. This EF3 tornado came in. It came in when it was dark. It came in around 12:30 to 1 in the morning when a lot of folks were sleeping. And the things we kind of stress when we talk about tornadoes is you remember you don't want to go upstairs. You want to stay in the lowest level in the center of a room. Now, I want to show you this one house you can see behind me, kind of show you the damage that was done. First of all, you see the roof a little bit messed up there, so you never want to go up when there's a tornado, obviously. And then even on the outside of it, there was some damage done, some siding taken off, so you want to be in the center of your house in order to stay safe, right? Now, you can see there was debris thrown pretty much everywhere. I'm looking behind me. I don't even know what this big white tub is right here, but I can tell you next to it there, I don't think that's where the smoker was. And there's even a lawnmower back there. I'm not sure the lawnmower is parked back there. I think that's somebody else's lawnmower, actually. And then as you look further off, you can see where this big storm went through. Over there's another house that's very damaged in the distance, but all day long and all afternoon long, even though we've had all this devastation, we've seen numerous neighbors and just people from all over different parts of Middle Tennessee coming in, volunteering to help these folks that are victims of this tornado. So back there, we had a group of guys that was working on that house. They piled all of that already just in one day. They did all that work, and actually you can hear it, but people are working on a roof right now with flashlights trying to help people out. And most people are doing this just as a volunteer and for free to help people stay safe, especially, tonight once the power's out and now the sun is set, and into the next couple of days with more potential rain in the forecast. But I can tell you this was a monster tornado when it came through Donaldson, probably strengthening to the strongest it was on its entire path, if it was entirely on the ground from, say, West Nashville all the way through into Wilson County and then Smith County. But here it was an EF3, winds 160 to 165. Luckily, in this neighborhood, most folks had basements, and most folks took those warnings seriously. They heard us wake them up with the weather app, and they went down in the basement, and they were okay. And that's why I'm happy to report tonight one of the biggest things and the biggest takeaway, and why everybody in this neighborhood has been so positive. Talking to so many of them, they're just so thankful to be here because they're okay, and they were not injured. And yes, maybe their home is gone, but they can rebuild. That's what they've been saying. So it's just been a really good energy out here this evening and even throughout the day since we've been here. I'll send it back into you.
Yeah, Danielle, we see how dark it is behind you, and we've seen the debris and the damage is extensive. Because of that, have NES trucks been able to get in there? Are they getting those lines repaired? Is it going to be dark for a while yet?
Yeah, now we have seen, earlier this afternoon, I was seeing some power trucks kind of going by. I saw some police vehicle presence too. I know they were going back and forth, kind of taping people just to make sure everybody was accounted for, that they had saw everyone. But so far, haven't had any reports of getting the power back on. And I know that back on the busy road back there, they still don't have traffic lights that are working. So power is out in a lot of spots. I think it's going to be a little bit longer, so people just have to hang tight. I can tell you, some of the neighbors here are living by candlelight right now, and they said they're enjoying it. They're just happy to be here. So they're still positive, even in this somewhat negative, dark situation.
And you did say, and you can see that there are folks who are claiming ground. They're staying right there in their damaged homes. They're not going to leave tonight, so they have no electricity, no power. They're just kind of camping out.
Yep, they're camping out, although I think some of them, they're going to friends' houses with the power. And I was like, hey, I'd be right there with you.
That's the spirit. A community effort. Danielle, thank you so much. We'll check in with you in just a little bit.
This is Chris Bungard, covers Capitol Hill for us. You were with Governor Lee today. We saw that he was flying over the damaged area, inspecting the damaged area. You could see in his voice and his reaction that this is bad.
Yeah, I think so. You know, he was even out quite a bit, so much that he was a little bit sunburned. And he was in the air off and on for about 3 hours, and we caught up with him when he landed.
I talked to a young lady that had to identify her neighbor, and you've got whole families displaced. So it's a lot of loss, but there's a lot of hope. There are a lot of neighbors out there. One of the things that's very encouraging to me is the way the state, the communities, the cities, the counties have come together, and the way the federal government has reached out as well to help.
Every leader faces a challenge. This is a big challenge. He seems to be facing this head on. It seems organized. They have a plan. It may take a while.
Yeah, and part of what that plan is to get, you know, he got 30 National Guard members up there to assess, help with search and rescue. There are 30 more that are there tonight. And also state lawmakers were along with him. We'll be hearing from them as we come back a little later.
As you talk to them, we'll hear from them a little bit later, but you could almost see again the disbelief almost of how bad the damage was in their communities.
Well, you have to remember, I mean, that's why we made it a point of talking to the state lawmakers, because, you know, they're looking down on this damage from the helicopter with the governor, and, you know, it's their neighbors. Mm-hmm. You know, they will know this road, and they will know that so-and-so lives up there. And really, when we were talking to them, they're still getting their arms around this.
And you spoke with Governor Bill Lee, and he spoke to President Trump today. Did you have a chance to speak with him a little bit further about that?
We just basically acknowledging that actually he said that it was President Trump who called him, as also the head of FEMA. And, you know, just offering prayers and thoughts and help. And a lot of this help isn't going to come right away. And that was one of the questions I asked the governor. I mean, you know, there are counties bringing in generators and pallets of water, and you think of these things that people will need if they're in a shelter, and shelters need this, and electricity isn't on in a lot of these places. So there's a lot to do. This is a story we're going to be covering all week.
Mayor Cooper in Nashville declared Nashville a state of emergency. It opens up a pile of money for anything that they need, overtime and the like. Has the governor talked about declaring a state of emergency here?
Yes, he has, and that I believe he has done that officially. And, you know, FEMA comes in here, and literally once they get here, I mean, in the disasters I've been around, they just start writing some checks. You've seen that. Yep. I'm sure you've seen that before. And it takes a while for that to gear up. Right now, it's neighbors, it's fire departments, it's emergency crews, churches. Those are the people that are really out there right now, along with, you know, Tennessee Highway Patrol, those kind of folks.
Probably doesn't hurt speeding up those checks if President Trump comes here Friday.
Yes, and that is always that, you know, you're going to hear all kinds of stuff about what happens when a president comes into a disaster area. Sometimes it can literally be a disaster politically. We remember Katrina with the second President Bush. But it also brings attention to that area, and hopefully, as you said, may speed things up for the real help that will be necessary for the months and years to rebuild these devastated areas.
And as you said, and the state seems to realize we're in this for the long haul. This is not going to be fixed tomorrow.
No. It's going to take a while, and we'll be catching up again with some of these lawmakers and retracing our steps and see what's been done.
And besides the state, folks, it was nice to hear from our two senators today, from Congressman Cooper today, everybody involved in the Nashville area and the Middle Tennessee area, to at least acknowledge we see what's going on, we feel your pain, we're going to do whatever we can to make it better.
And also, I don't know if you've reported this, but Senator Blackburn, U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn, has been sending us emails at least, and I've gotten in contact with her office saying she is going to be in Putnam County tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Of course, you know, she represented that part. I believe she had part of Putnam during her time in Congress, but she has long ties to that area as well.
Chris, why is it so important for all of these lawmakers to be out in those communities? I mean, these are literally their communities as well. How important is it for them to be out there and try to bring the community together?
Well, I mean, we all look to, you know, the leaders, the mayors. We heard that news conference from Putnam County earlier, and you heard from the sheriff. Of course, he's bringing up details, but the mayor was there as well. And in these kind of disasters, you know, you do look for certain individuals to, and we've elected these people.
Yeah, that's true.
This is part of what they do, and it can be. Carl Dean was given high marks for how he dealt with the flood of 2010.
Chris Budgar, we appreciate it. We'll be talking with the governor and elected officials as we continue to try to recover from this terrible storm.
Now let's go to Linda Ong. She is standing by at the WKRN.com alert desk. Linda.
All right, Bob and Erica. Well, Justin, the Putnam County Sheriff's Office just released an update on the curfew for the county. Authorities are saying that is in effect in an hour from about 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. Only the areas, though, that were hit by the tornado. This, of course, applies to some of the hardest hit areas, including Charlton Square, Echo Valley, and Pluck-Whitson. As a reminder, Mount Juliet's curfew is set already in place from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. For more details, we have this update posted on our website, WKRN.com. Back to you.
Linda, thank you so much for that info.
Some of the big damage, of course, in the Donaldson area, in the East Nashville area. News 2's Alex Dennis is in East Nashville. Alex?
We're here at this apartment complex in East Nashville, and you can still hear the sirens going off, whether it is fire alarms or something, but there is a screeching in the night air that's really kind of haunting to tell us what we know is out here if the sun was still up. The water is dripping from where the pipes have busted, and then look at over here. This group of friends trying to lower down this couch. They suspect that this apartment complex is going to be condemned, so they're doing all they can to get any of their furniture out that has not been damaged. I want to walk us around this way too. There's a young lady named Natalie. So they have all of their friends are together. They have 4 or 5 different vehicles. They're working to, you know, get it all together. Natalie, it looks like you got a lot going on. They really are working straight through the night. Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
so what's going on here?
We're just helping our friend evacuate her condo.
So the damage that you've seen as you've been driving around the area, what has that been like for you?
Really devastating and really sad, and just can't really believe it.
Yeah.
You know, honestly.
What are the plans from here once you get her out of her place?
I don't know yet. We don't know. Probably live with friends for now.
Well, I'm glad you guys are out here. Be very safe, please.
We will.
Look at all of her clothes. Bless her heart. And that's just a stark reminder that these people have so much going on now. Their lives are completely uprooted as we continue to be here in East Nashville, where the EF3 tornado touched down in the early morning hours. You know, those are winds between 160 to 165 miles per hour. So we're here in East Nashville as people try to get all of their stuff out of their homes. Of course, we see that the power is still out in the area and the alarms are still sounding and there's pipes broken and the water dripping. You see the full scene here. A lot still going on in East Nashville tonight. Guys, back to you.
Thank you very much, Alex. What a scene there, and that's playing out throughout the area. People trying to salvage what they can by flashlight, going into apartment complexes and homes that have no electricity, stumbling over stuff, and this is going on as we speak, as they try to pick up some pieces of their lives from this devastating storm.
I think the best way to describe what we just saw was that was just real and raw life. That's what we're seeing in a lot of places. Stephanie Langston is in Donaldson, taking a look at the damage there. Steph, any new stories for us?
Well, this is just a snippet of some of the damage we're seeing here on Downey Drive. You can see the siding ripped off this home here, and then these bricks just laid on the ground, ripped off from the front of this house here. And it appears as though whenever I was driving in the daylight that this tornado came from this direction over Donaldson Christian Academy, which is just completely wiped out. And I know it's difficult to see now that it's dark, but this home is gone. This home is gone. And that's really the story as we continue to circle around. And I mentioned earlier, I've had a lot of conversations with many of these folks out here, and one of the most memorable was no doubt the woman, you know, that just kneeled down and covered up her body as her house collapsed down on her. And we have that sound now if you want to take a listen.
And I heard this loud noise, and at that moment I knew that I was in a tornado. I stood up, I took 2 steps in my living room, and it was like my house exploded with me in it. the force of the wind pushed me back, and all I did was just kneel in a fetal position and start praying. I could hear walls cracking. I could hear things just falling all around me. And I just kept praying, and I just kept holding on, and I just kept praying and holding on and praying on. And finally, when it ceased and it stopped, I was actually pinned inside the rubbish. So you can see my house. There's no walls. There's only just that one beam in the middle there. And my house was totally demolished with me inside the house. And I'm so grateful because I've never experienced anything like that in my life. Not to be in a tornado and have my house explode with me inside the house and walk away with only a scratch on my leg and on my foot.
Only a few scratches. Really a truly unbelievable story there. You know, most of these folks took cover down in their basements. This lady was in the middle of her living room and saw a neighbor and started yelling for help, who pulled her out of that rubbish. And you heard a lot of her talking about, you know, faith and God, and that's what we've seen a lot out here from folks. There's been a lot of praying on the streets. There's been a lot of tears, a lot of emotions, and then you see that positive side come out from those folks that are willing to come out here and lend a hand. You know, we still hear people over here hammering on top of a roof. We still see folks over here with headlamps on, digging out what they can, you know, before daylight again tomorrow. Bob.
Steph, it's a remarkable story that lady tells of survival. It truly is a miracle. You shared some just incredible video throughout the day of this subdivision where you are in Donaldson. It's just literally destroyed in some places, and yet, are there people there tonight working? Are there people trying to stay in these homes with no electricity tonight?
There is, Bob. I believe Danielle might have mentioned earlier we had to use the restroom in one of the houses, and, you know, they let us in with these candles, you know, in each room. There are folks, because, you know, every time I cover a tornado, as you've seen before, you could see one house completely wiped out, and then the house beside it untouched. You know, it's really a remarkable thing to see in person. So while there is a ton of devastation here, many of these homes are untouched. You know, these guys are inside their home right now tonight in the dark, and their belongings are still strewn all out in front of this yard. A lot of people, church members and groups, came out today and jumped up on the roofs and started covering many of these with tarps and stuff and trying to help out and picking up pieces for people, but some of them didn't get all that help. So there's definitely a lot of work that still needs to be done here tonight. But yeah, many have gone to families and friends' homes because there's nowhere they could sleep, while others are still able to at least find some sort of coverage.
Yeah, I think it's going to take months to rebuild and stuff. I think the only way we really get through this is if we come together as a community, and you have talked time and time again, that's what you're seeing out there. That's what's so great.
It is. You know, we saw this one family wearing their pajamas. They had all their kids in the back seat, and they had a sign hanging on the side that said free Gatorade. Aww. And they drove past us probably 25 times today doing circles. We saw two girls show up with little care kits, and they had shampoo and conditioner and toothpaste, and they're walking around, you know, offering that to anyone who still has a shower they can take a shower in that may need those supplies. There was no shortage here of love from folks in the community, complete strangers from all over Middle Tennessee. I just spoke to another man and I said, wow, you know, you guys really jumped on your roof. You had that covered up quickly. He said, I don't know who those guys are. They just showed up here, and they did. And he said he was so grateful because he's 73 years old and has a bad hip, and he couldn't do it on his own. And I spent a lot of time with the man over here in the corner who had a stroke recently, and he couldn't do it on his own. And randomly met somebody who just pulled up and started helping, and more people kept showing up and helping him get through this.
Steph, quickly, you always want to think about the best of people, but you have to prepare for the worst. Right. What kind of security measures are out there to make sure that people that aren't supposed to be there are not there and that everything's protected?
That's a really good question, Bob, and I've been thinking about that myself. I have seen police drive through a few times. They have their lights on. You know, it's very dark out here, but not many wanderers or looky-loos. I haven't seen any of that. So I've seen police drive through a few times, and I'm hoping they're keeping an eye on that. I will tell you that Lebanon Road, which is over here, you can still see the lights from the vehicles that are lined up, and the man next door told me he went to Lowe's, which is very close to here. It took him 2 hours to get there and get back. So those traffic lights being out,
have definitely caused a lot of traffic there on the main road, but this seems to be relatively quiet over here.
Stephanie Langston in Donaldson, appreciate the update.
We just also, speaking of updates, we just learned that the death toll is now 24, so that was dropped by 1 death. And a little bit earlier, we seemed to have a confusion out of Putnam County, whether there were 18 or 19 deaths. But
misspeaking happens sometimes.
Yes,
we
with this very fluid situation. I do want to go to the vigil out at Public Square Park. That's where we find our Brent Ramonda. It sounds like we have just a beautiful scene going on right now, and that's what you're seeing right there.
And these folks have gathered to, pay their respects to those who lost their lives, and also to, to support the people who are trying to recover.
Looks like we're going to hear from some people right now as well.
I want to thank everyone for being here tonight and the opportunity to offer prayer for my community to our larger Nashville.
Yeah, these folks in Public Square Park are talking to each other. A little bit difficult to try to understand, so let's show you the information that we know how we have. In Putnam County, the worst damage, the worst tragedy took place there. 18 people killed that we know of, 88 people were injured. There's still 77 people is the last number unaccounted for. There are searches going on and rescue efforts going on through rubble, through homes, to search for these folks. They do not think they are all in peril. They do believe a lot of these folks are simply not in contact with folks from cell phone service or not having power, but the search continues for 77 unaccounted for people. As soon as we get a list of those names, we'll put that on our website. Schools are closed through Friday. All standing buildings have to be checked to make sure that they are viable and that they are not dangerous for people to enter.
I do want to add that there has been a curfew put in place there starting in about 15 minutes, 8 p.m. until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So keep that in mind if you are in that area. They did, unfortunately, have 1 arrest in regards to looting, and we're keeping an eye on that, and we don't want to see that. But Ryan, if we could take some of that video out of Wilson County, we can show some of the schools that were damaged. We had several schools that were damaged, and it's just heartbreaking. And you think, what if this tornado touched down during the day, during the school day? It would have been devastating.
This is West Middle School, West Wilson Middle School and Stoner Creek Elementary School, and it's got quite a bit of damage. Classes are canceled there for tomorrow, I think through the end of the week in Wilson County. They're canceled in Putnam County. Davidson County is closed tomorrow. We will continue to update all the school closings. We may get more on our website at WKRN.com, a full list of all the closings and when they will reopen. We will continue to update that as well.
And then this is the video, aerial video that we're getting out of Lebanon. This is a warehouse. And Bob, we've been talking about this time and time again. You have the tragedy, and then you have several problems that follow. If you take a look at your screen, well, you're looking at the fire right there. So that's just one of the
when you have this much destruction, gas lines get broken, and this is what usually causes these kinds of fires. They haven't gotten the gas turned off quickly enough, and it erupts and causes a fire. This is also in Wilson County. Look at the debris. Look at how much of that tin from that warehouse has crossed the street and is wrapped around trees. News 2's Andy Cordan shot this on his cell phone, I believe. You can see the whole side of the building is gone. What you're looking at is the interior and the contents inside that building. Laying flat on your screen, that is the side of the building.
I remember Andy was talking about a lot of twisted metal, and it's just stuff is scattered everywhere. Devastating. Let's go on over to Linda Ong. She is standing by at the WKRN.com alert desk. Linda, what's new?
All right, well, Erica and Bob, for commuters who take the WeGo Star, a lot of people need to head to work tomorrow. We have just learned that the train will not operate tomorrow morning, and this is because crews continue to have to remove debris and, of course, power lines on the tracks to make sure that they are safe. However, most regional bus service will operate in the morning as regularly scheduled. Only the 9 Metro Center will not be in operation. And, of course, with road conditions, there will be detours, so folks can expect delays. Please plan ahead. Back to you.
Thank you, Linda. The power crews are working very, very hard. News 2's Sylvia Castagneda was with them earlier today.
Take a look. Crews are out here on 2nd Avenue North in downtown Nashville working on assessing the situation here. Behind me, just these 2 blocks alone, we've counted at least 6 telephone poles that have been snapped and are down, with also power lines and telecommunication lines down as well. We've seen crews who've already been out here snapping those lines, bringing the lines down to release tension so they can then start to determine how to quickly remove these lines, get the poles back up, and restore power. Over here at the Clifford Allen building, You see the damage here with the trees, limbs being snapped from the storm, but the building inside, we were told, was left undamaged, which is good news. And Denise, if you can pan also down here, another couple of blocks, you also still see here on 2nd Avenue North, poles that have been snapped from the top. At least they are not blocking the roadway. But again, folks, this is going to be something that will be an ongoing situation here in the coming hours, maybe even coming days, to try to restore power to this area. For now, I'm Sylvia Castañeda reporting from downtown Nashville. Back to you.
Sylvia. Thank you, Sylvia. We can also tell you Metro school officials are working on a contingency plan for what to do about those damaged buildings. As soon as we get more information about that, we will bring it to you online and on air.
It's crazy to see how many areas were impacted by this tornado. And again, we are still waiting to figure out how many tornadoes technically touched down. And Davis has been following this one. But look at
Yeah, this is Putnam County, some of the transformer lines. I believe these are TVA lines that are down, and that takes a difficulty as well, because that has to be put back up before power can be restored through the regular power supply. So more difficulties because of this storm. Look at the damage out here. I mean, these places are just gone. And this is new construction. The roof is gone, just demolished buildings. The power of this storm, and it was an EF3. They go up to EF5, and EF3 is the middle ground, but it is still very, very powerful. Winds up to about 160, 165 miles an hour. These are some of the crews coming in to help. We talked about NES crews working around the clock in Nashville. Utility crews for Middle Tennessee Electric and others, they're also working 24/7 trying to get this power restored. The number keeps decreasing a little bit, but it just takes time, especially in these rural areas in Wilson County and in Putnam County, where it just takes it's so dark, it takes so long to get to these places and then to get the area cleared.
We had a lot of crews working today. By the way, that number is sitting at 35,801 customers impacted by this. I want to take this video from 2nd Avenue, if we can show everybody what the damage is looking like in that area, and that's awful.
Yeah, this is up in the Germantown area on 2nd Avenue, and total devastation. Looking back towards the Capitol, looking back towards downtown Nashville. And First Tennessee Park is just to your left.
Untouched.
And it was untouched and spared any kind of damage. These are some businesses, some apartment complexes, some older buildings, some renovated buildings. The Germantown area has seen a lot of growth, a lot of new construction, a lot of new residents there, and so they're dealing with this disaster as well.
A lot of people displaced tonight. It breaks our hearts. Hey, let's check in with Andy Cordan.
What brought you here tonight?
I came down to 15th Avenue Baptist Church to vote in the primary.
And so you just asked me, is that place open? And I said, probably not. There's no power anywhere. Now what? What are you going to do?
I know that they have extended voting hours at certain polling places, so I'll look for whatever's open.
You know, so all day long I've been dealing with people dying and then how much they've lost and then people with no power. And I forgot it was election day. And here you are still doing your civic duty. What brought you here tonight?
Sure. Well, I think all those things are probably more important. I think I've been working all day making sure my friends and family are okay. I think everyone's pretty much taken care of in my circle, but I still feel like it's an incredibly important election.
Yes, sir.
And so, you know.
So now what? Where do you go?
So I go online and find out what polling places are still open. I think that they have extended the hours at certain places.
And hopefully they're lenient knowing there's tons of places that look just like this.
Sure.
All right, brother, go vote.
Yeah,
nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you, Andy. A lot of the damage today, we're still detailing exactly how much happened. There was a lot of damage in the Mount Juliet area at Donaldson Christian Academy. I'm going to show you some of the video here. Power lines down. The school building itself received damage. Debris strewn all over the area roads. They're still trying to clear some of those roads. Water running freely. Power lines down. We don't know how much of the power has been shut down. There's some part of the school. You can see the building is just almost totally destroyed. The roof is gone. The windows are blown out. It's not sure how long it's going to take to get that facility where it can receive students again. It could be a while.
A lot of the stuff that you're seeing there, the debris was just picked up by the tornado and then dropped off in another location. And we have seen several pictures that people are finding from people's photo albums. You know, perhaps they were just in the family room, but it's heartbreaking to see these memories that are now just lost
Yeah, the
in all
debris
the
field
rubble.
is very, very large. We saw some of the the tin that was blown off of buildings in trees, going into yards. There was debris reported in Hendersonville, completely across Old Hickory Lake from the Donaldson area and the Madison area up there. So, you know, it traveled a long way, and with those 160-mile-an-hour winds, it throws it. That's a real danger. That's how 2 people were killed in East Nashville by flying debris. That's part of the reason that these storms become so powerful. Is not necessarily the storm, but the aftermath or the residual effect of these storms that claim lives.
All right, you just talked about, actually, we're going to go to Brent Romano. We're going to go back to that vigil. Brent, what are you seeing out there? Somber, huh?
Hey, yeah, everyone gathering together, talking about the destruction and what will be taking place moving forward. We're here with Councilmember Brandon Taylor, District 21. Your district saw some impacts from this. What were you seeing?
Yeah, we saw horrific images all day. People that don't have a home. People that have no idea of what their next steps are. People have no idea of if they'll ever be able to move back to that community. And so we were out yesterday trying to make sure that our neighbors were secure and accounted for. We were knocking doors and seeing if everyone was okay. And we continued throughout this entire day doing the same thing, trying to clean up. We've stationed ourselves at Lee Chapel AME Church, and that's going to be at 1200 Dr. D.B. Todd Jr. Boulevard. And we've been there all day, and we've received donations, we've received support and volunteers, and so we're going to continue to do those efforts throughout this entire week as we ask people to help us. Tomorrow specifically, we want to help people secure their homes in North Nashville. We want to make sure that our neighbors, because it's scheduled to rain this week, and we want to make sure that we have tarps. So if you have tarps, please bring tarps out. If you have plywood, we're asking for plywood. We're asking for power tools. We're asking for help. We're asking for a little elbow grease. We need help, and our neighbors are resilient as ever. I would say the most resilient neighbors in the city. But we're excited that we're here, you know, and we're still pushing along, and that we're going to continue to push along, and we're going to continue to serve our community and our neighbors as best as we can.
You know, Councilmember Aswar here saying that, you know, council members out here today, the mayor, vice mayor, saying that, you know, this tragedy now means that, you know, you all in office have to push to help these communities and get things done. And that's what the message kind of was here tonight, as well as, you know, the vigil.
And I'll say, you know, as a council member, one of my main messages is that I lead with the community, and that we push for capital improvements and infrastructure. And I know that budget season's coming up, and we want to be a part of that conversation, as well as we want to be a part of that conversation as we rebuild and repair the lives and the homes of individuals in North Nashville and District 21.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us here again. This put on by the council members, Councilmember Zulfat Suara, one of the people who put this on, and a beautiful thing to see everyone come together and sing and you know, talk about this devastating event that will certainly feel the impacts moving forward. Guys, we'll send things back to you.
Thank you, Brent. People helping people, Nashvillians helping Nashvillians. We've seen it all throughout this devastated area. East Nashville was hit hard. News is Alex Dennis is there tonight.
What are you thinking as you're walking?
I'm a native over here, so just looking at everything that's going on, it's like a war zone around here.
It really is.
It is. And you know, obviously last night, the storm was last night, so to see it today, exactly what the real damage was, it's heartbreaking. It really is.
It's worse than 98, 99 when it came through. Like it's unbelievable just to see it, like where you grew up at.
Yeah.
And it's,
so where are you guys from, and where do you live now?
I lived on North 9th. That's where I grew up at. And so.
My family, they're on Neal Avenue right around the corner.
Yeah.
So the tornado in 98 actually came down that street. And so to see the same thing happen and now more destruction, even if you look at these houses behind us, they're saying that you can't even live in those houses, almost condemned within a matter of hours. Yeah. So yeah, it's a complete tragedy for everybody involved.
What do you think about this community being from this area? Everyone seems like they're rallying together already, just hours after this happened.
Hours.
I see you shaking your head, yeah.
Soon as daybreak came, people started coming out. They started helping, no matter where, no matter what the damage was. If they could lend a helping hand, they done it.
Yeah.
They did it. So it looks so much better than what it was just hours ago.
Isn't that unbelievable? We've
Yeah.
been here all day. I was shocked.
And that's just the love of the people in the community, all around Nashville, actually. If you see from Madison out towards downtown, it's just nothing but love and support. Yeah.
What do you hope for the next steps in your community and for those that are suffering so much tonight when we know that there's now 25 people dead in Middle Tennessee?
Just see the community come back. See it be rebuilt, you know, build off of it, get strength from it, you know. Things happen, you just one day at a time, and we can make through it. We can get through it. It'll come together.
Yeah, even for, I think strangers became family today.
Yes, they did.
They did. They became family. Just people you never even spoke to. Now you seem like you've been knowing them your entire life, and it's just the togetherness through tragedy. There is triumph. So I'm just thankful for that. And so the community will come back. It'll be more communication. It'll be more love shown, and that's just what it's about: support and family. So yeah.
Oh, thank you guys. Be safe as you're walking around out here tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I woke up from the windows rattling.
Just a giant explosion, really. It felt like heavy winds and then a boom.
I couldn't believe all the damage that's been done.
I don't know how you put into words what has happened.
We're very fortunate to be alive.
It was a large, violent tornado. It seems like it's sustained on the ground for a very long period of time.
It is heartbreaking. We have had loss of life all across the state.
I heard my window shatter, and I thought that was it.
It's really hard when your neighbor gets hit because that's also your church member, your best friend.
They were walking home from his workplace there on McFerrin Avenue and were hit by flying debris.
The bricks started falling and hitting us in the back, and it was pretty traumatic.
There's a lot of emotion out here. There's been a lot of tears.
This storm started in the west side of the state and ended in the east side of the state. It was a very dangerous situation.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of this deadly day of weather here in Middle Tennessee. We thank you for joining us for our extended coverage. This storm has impacted thousands and thousands of lives. We can show you what we know that has happened so far. Sadly, 24 people died in this storm. At least 200 to 250 more were injured. There's a state of emergency in Tennessee. Davidson, Wilson, and Putnam counties were all affected by this storm. They all have damage. And President Trump called Governor Lee earlier today to talk to him about coming to town. He will be in Nashville, will be in Putnam County on Friday to see the damage for himself.
More than 5,000 people have already offered to volunteer, help out. I mean, we are known as the volunteer state, and we are seeing that.
And if you want to do that,
today,
go to handsonnashville.com, sign up. Those folks, as we heard the councilman say, they need your help.
Yep.
Bring a chainsaw, bring some gloves, bring some elbow grease, and be careful.
You can also text Relief 2020 to 41444. Again, that is text Relief 2020 to 41444. The American Cross needs help. Salvation Army, Second Harvest Food Bank. All ways that you can help out during this tragic time right now. Let's toss things on over to Andy Cordan.
Linda Ong at the alert desk.
Linda Ong at the alert desk.
All right, well, Erica and Bob, we are learning that just less than 24 hours into the tornado's aftermath, the Trousdale County Sheriff's Department reports it has already received complaints of people soliciting money to help tornado victims. Now, officials are saying this is illegal. Anyone soliciting without a county-issued permit is violating an ordinance. Now, you can report soliciting at the following number, 615-373-3994. The department encourages folks who do want to help to look to the Red Cross or other legitimate organizations. Back to you.
Linda, we hate hearing that. Thank you so much for that update, though.
News 2's Andy Cordan has been tracking this storm all day long. He joins us live tonight. Andy?
Hey there, guys. You're looking at the command post, and the cavalry just arrived. This is the shift coming on now for Central Precinct. Their responsibility is primarily Germantown, and as you know, Germantown is primarily in the dark right now, so there are added dangers now that it's nighttime. There are wires down, there are streets closed, there's a fear of looting, there's all number of things. I'm going to step out of the way here for a moment. Hector, if you want to zoom in, all the guys are now gathering. They've been here for some time. They're looking at a map, and the map shows primarily early Germantown, and some of the roads that are open, some that are closed. In fact, they're telling me that as roads open, they can wipe it off the map there with their erase markers, and they can move on and sort of patrol in a different way. They told me they'll have 24 guys working tonight, 24 men and women. They'll be working 12-hour shifts. I was talking to the sergeant out here, Jerry Hyder, and he told me that he works the night shift. So last night he was watching News 2 coverage, and he said he was just antsy. He wanted to get out here. He wanted to help his community. And I said, you're a lot like News 2. You know, you're the cop version of that. So as you can see, these are the guys, the gals. They're out here. They're getting their assignments. They're figuring out what roads are open, what roads are closed, what businesses have walls, and what businesses are wide open and need protection. So they're out here for you guys. In fact, we interviewed them right before this live show. We're putting that story together for 9 or 10 or whenever we come back to you, and that'll be soon. So anyway, from East Nashville, let's send it back to you guys.
Andy, quickly, you know police probably better than any reporter in Nashville. When a situation like this happens, it's all hands on deck. These police officers are working long hours, they're working overtime, and everybody's on call, aren't they?
You know what was kind of cool is I just talked to these guys and I said, well, you know, what are the added, you know, problems that you might be experiencing? And he goes, our training allows us to do this. And I said, well, what about that place over there? You know, the sun's down now and it's dark. He goes, this is what we do. I mean, cool, calm, collected. They were ready for it. They've got their map out. They're planning for contingencies. I think they're excited. I mean, you know, this is, they're helping their community. They're protecting their community. They're out here in force. This is what we want our law enforcement officers to be doing right now. And these guys are doing it with alacrity. So right now, you can see a lot of planning, strategizing, and figuring out where can we work. And Germantown, literally, it's just behind us over here. There's very few lights there. I mean, I was out there for 2 or 3 hours in the sunshine, and it was easy to get around. You could see the wires over your head. And then when the sun went down, I mean, you had to watch where you were stepping. Nails were coming up out of boards. There were still wires down. I talked to the electric crews out there. They were talking about having to raise certain wires, what wires they had to cut, what poles they might still be able to establish. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, and they just have to do it street by street by street. And so these guys got to protect those streets. That's why they're behind me.
To serve and protect, Andy, and these Metro finest are doing it very, very well. Thanks for the update.
They're doing a great job. Andy, thank you so much. Now we want to get back out to News 2's Eric Egan. He is live for us in Putnam County. Eric, we just received that list of the 77 people that are still unaccounted for. Explain.
Yeah, as promised, some of the officials here, they told us they would release the names of the 77 people who are unaccounted for still tonight in Putnam County. They want to give them to us so we can release them to the public. Obviously, we want that number to get down. We want people to be able to connect with each other. We have that for you right now. We've posted it to our website at WKRN.com. You can find that list. Again, 77 people still unaccounted for here in Cookeville tonight in Putnam County. The hope is a lot of that is because it's been hard to communicate. People are all over the place. You know, cell towers have been down, though I also have been told communication is increasing. Cell phone service is coming back, so that's a good thing. We also know tonight that they are now complete. Crews out there are finished searching now 75% of the subdivisions of the homes that they wanted to kind of get back out there and go through to see if there are any more survivors, any more victims out there, again, where the tornado hit. The most impacted areas, if you're local tonight, it's Charleston Square, Plunk Whitson Road, Echo Valley, Prosperity Point, North McBroom Chapel, also Double Springs Utility District. These are the areas that crews are still searching at the moment. In all, 88 people have been injured or have been treated for their injuries in Putnam County. The death count is up to 18 at this point, and tragically, some children are included in that. So being here again in Putnam County, we have crews out there still gathering more video, gathering more information, still talking with folks. Photographer Armando here and I, we've sort of been holding it down at home base, talking with officials, gathering as much information as we possibly can. Just talked to two firefighters from Knox County. They've been here. It kind of shows you some of the that volunteer effort and spirits, and they've been out there working with local crews, kind of telling us what they've seen. They equated some of the damage to some of the hurricane aftermath. Some of these guys have traveled out to serve in hurricanes in the Houston, Texas area, North Carolina as well. Just the devastation, and from their words, being right there in ground zero, so to speak, it's so widespread. Of course, we know this line was in Nashville. We know it went across into Donaldson, into Wilson County, again, north Nashville as well, Germantown, East Nashville, and then, pushing east to where we are, just devastating that entire way. So it's a fluid situation, of course. Again, we want to emphasize the unaccounted for list of some 77 people is now on our website at WKRN.com. Please check that out. Share it with as many people as you know as possible. That is what they told us they want to do. Get the word out so people who are unaccounted for, family members might be looking for them, they can reconnect, and we can get that number down, and we can just try to bring some good news out of this situation, because that's, of course, what so many of us are hoping for. There will be another briefing. They're finished for tonight. There's going to be another one coming up at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, so we'll have a lot more information in person is what they said. But for the most part, or until then, of course, we're out here in Cookeville and Putnam County holding it down and getting more information for you guys, gathering out on the scene as this develops into the night. Eric,
well, quick question. Did you say the search and rescue has ended for tonight, or are they still looking in a couple of areas?
They're still looking, and I'm glad you asked that. So there's about 3 to 5 subdivisions. They've completed 75% of the homes that they do plan on searching, and that's digging into basements. That's using an excavator and moving giant pieces of debris to check if there's anything to find under that. I mentioned this earlier as well. There's an area of land that they will not search tonight. It's a field that's adjacent to these neighborhoods in Cookeville. It's about 20 acres or so. There's a thought that there could be some victims in that area. It's not safe to search it. It's kind of a swampy area. They won't go into that tonight, so they're going to wait for the light of day to check out that area again. So they will search as many homes as they can tonight, then they'll wait for daylight to go back out there.
Eric, one last thing while we have you. You might have touched on this just a little bit, but I want to talk more about that list of the 77 people. I want all of our viewers to know that the Putnam County officials, they don't believe that all 77 of these people are missing or injured, correct?
Yeah, you've got that right. So at the moment, again, we said 88 people have been treated at local hospitals. Tragically, there are 18 deaths to report tonight from Putnam County. The 77 unaccounted for, it's not as grim as it sounds, even though that's a big number. And they want to do their best, again, to get the word out and to try to, whether it's social media, whether it's by phone, any sort of technology we can get out there. And I also mentioned the cell towers, they've been down much of the day. You go to that area, it's a few miles down the road from where I am right now. Much of the day, there's been no cell service. People can't call each other. They don't have they don't have power. They don't have a way to charge their cell phones to communicate. To be honest, that's how most of us communicate these days. So once all the power is restored, the electricity comes back, the lights come back on, and then again with these names now out there publicly, we'll circulate that, and there's the hope that that number is going to come down dramatically. People just haven't had a chance, or really the physical ability to talk to each other and to share those messages, to be honest with you.
Thank you, Eric. It will be a long night for a lot of folks in Putnam County, a longer night for the family of those 77 names. Hopefully now that those names are out, we can spotlight some of these folks, find them, and get them off of that list.
We've got another face at the desk. We've got State Capitol Newsroom reporter Chris Bungard. Chris, you spoke to Governor Bill Lee today. You also spoke to several other lawmakers and state officials. What did they tell you?
Well, these were the 2 state lawmakers I spoke with that we're going to hear from in just a moment. We're flying with the governor and
over their districts.
Over their districts, and essentially they were looking at the devastation of people they knew.
There was a hopefulness, I think, that was evident. There were residents that were waiting at the barricades to these areas who were wanting to get in there to help, and neighbor was helping neighbor, and it was a great thing to see. But it is obviously there's families that are going to take some time.
It's heart-wrenching to see the devastation that has basically all across Tennessee, but especially in Putnam County, the loss of life that we have heard about that's in Putnam County, and especially with those that are still missing.
Chris, when you get
I'm sorry. I was just going to identify who those folks were. That was Senator Paul Bailey, whose district includes Putnam County, and the first person who spoke was Representative Ryan Williams, whose district is Cookeville in the city, in the area there.
So the question that I had for you, now we all woke up this morning and we knew that we had a job to do. These officials feel the same way. Not only are they looking around and they're noticing that their communities are destroyed, but they know that they have to get to work and they have to bring all of these people together.
Well, I talked to Ryan Williams, and he was on very early on our air because, you know, I knew that this was an area that had been hit hard, and word was just coming out that it was Cookeville that was hit about 2 in the morning, I believe. And I was talking to Ryan somewhere between 6:30 and 7. He said, I am on the phone. He said, I was on the phone with my wife for almost an hour. He's got 2 kids in public schools there. Obviously, you're checking on your own family first. He is here, Representative Williams and Senator Bailey. They are here because, you know, there's still 2 more days of the legislative session this week. Now, they may be both back up there tonight. When we talked to them, it was about 3 o'clock, and I think as they saw the numbers go up through the day of the death toll in Putnam County, and now the number of missing, which they hope will come down, my guess is they may have gone home tonight to be with their loved ones and also be, as we talked about earlier, they're leaders in this area, and people look to them for some of the things that we're telling you now.
Chris Bungard, thanks for the update. Let's go back out to Donaldson. News 2's Danielle Breezy is there tonight, and it's dark out there. Danielle?
Yes, it is dark out here, and yes, we are talking about an EF3 tornado that hit this area that we have been at all day long, 70 Langston and I. This is the Donaldson area, and this tornado actually started, and it may have started as far back as in our western counties. We were watching this tornado-warned storm, just to let you know, last night around 10:45 when Benton and Carroll counties got a tornado warning. And by the way, 2 confirmed tornadoes there in those areas as well. Then this cell continued to be tornado warned into Dixon, and then re-intensified over Davidson County, and then touched down in West Nashville, coming across to East Nashville, doing all that destruction, and intensifying even more as it moved right into Donaldson. It was an EF3, winds of 160 to 165 miles an hour. So let me tell you what those kind of winds can do. First of all, we've seen a lot of damage like this, where sticks are just driven into the ground or driven, you know, horizontally into other trees. This is one area I like to show this too, because this is some of the damage you can see. This is some plastic, it looks like, some wood slidings here. But if you notice what's going on with them around the bush, they're kind of mangled and twisted in together. That is a true sign that this would be tornado damage, because if you're looking for straight line wind damage, all of it would be going in a straight row or out from a particular point if it was a microburst. So this is all wrapping around and mangling together, indicating that it was tornado damage. And of course, National Weather Service preliminarily giving this an EF3 rating. But you know what? 166 miles an hour makes it an EF4, so this could be a very close call, and they'll probably have to come out and look more at the damage. Now, I want to show you some really extensive damage you can see behind me here. That's a house. I was showing you this in daylight here, but not much left of the house. You know, there's a couple walls, and everything else is just really, really messed up. But I will tell you this, there was a basement underneath there too. And most of these homes, luckily in this neighborhood, and we've seen dozens of homes that have been destroyed or at least partially damaged, had basements, and that's where most of the folks waited out the storm. They also took the warnings seriously. We had talked about it earlier that night. We said these storms were going to hit late. They sure did. They came in after midnight, and around this area hit around 12:45, 1 in the morning, and then it continued eastbound and moved right into Putnam County, where they did a lot of damage in the Cookeville area. But I can tell you this, you know, obviously things are a little quieter now. Not as many people out here, but earlier today we had tons of people out and about. People came in from all different areas just to help out, bringing water, bringing food. Just wanted to say hi, and tons of viewers coming out here just to say thank you. They were watching us, and they are happy to be alive today, and nobody in this neighborhood was injured. And this is also the area, if you know Donaldson DCA, right down the road there, that was pretty much level. But luckily, in this regard, it happened late at night when there were no kids in that building. So that's the very latest from the Donaldson area. Of course, they still have a lot of recovery to do with this neighborhood. It's going to take days to, I'm sure, clean it up, but people are helping, and that's really, really nice. The people are coming out and just volunteering.
Danielle, you were up all night talking Middle Tennessee through this tornado warning as these tornadoes were moving across the state. Once you got to the scene today, were you surprised by what you saw? Were you surprised by the extent of the damage?
I would say that, yes, I still am in awe with tornadoes, the wrath of Mother Nature, truly, especially a large, powerful tornado. And this one was definitely that. You know, driving up here, many lights, obviously, without power, so lots of traffic jams. And then coming into this neighborhood, it was very hard. We had to dodge a lot of areas. There were still a lot of trees covering the roads. And obviously, everything is all over the place here. But I will tell you, the one thing I can say is the folks were watching. They listened. And you know, I can't stress it enough that that's why we're here. We want to protect you. We want to keep you safe. And I really, really appreciate everybody that's come up and just said thank you, because I have been working for almost 48 hours now, and I'm doing it. And I want to continue to do that because that's my biggest goal, is to keep everybody safe. And we did just that. We tried our best, at least last night.
Danielle Breezy live in Donaldson tonight, scene of some of the most devastating damage from this storm.
And I hope she knows how much we appreciate her as well. I want to go back over to East Nashville. That's where we're finding our Alex Dennis.
So we're here in East Nashville, and I wanted you to check this out. The size of this tree, this root system, just to give you some perspective, I'm 5'10", and it is taller than me. It peeled back this sidewalk. We were here in this area earlier during the daylight, took a tour of a couple of these homes that are destroyed on the inside. And what is unbelievable to me, that just hours ago, this tornado ripped through the area, but now we already see that these homes are boarded up, there's tarps on the roof, and these emergency crews with the power companies have been working around the clock. A major thank you to them. Yes, the power is still out here in East Nashville, but we've been out here since about 8 o'clock this morning, and they have been too, around the clock trying to restore this area. And you know, a lot of the people that we spoke to, they just have such a great sense of pride about their neighborhood here, the camaraderie and the community. They say that they will rebuild, they will be stronger than ever, and they will work around the clock, just like those emergency crews and responders are doing as well. So we'll send it back to you guys, but a lot still going on in the evening hours here in East Nashville.
So many people out in East Nashville and everywhere that we've seen today, just helping each other, and I love seeing that community help.
Community support.
Yes, community support.
Meteorologist Davis Nolan joined us to tell us a little bit about the story of this storm. We predicted it, you guys predicted it a couple of days ago that this might happen, and then you tracked it all yesterday, beginning in West Tennessee.
Yeah, you know, Benton County had damage, and then we were tracking a good couplet of inbound, outbound winds all the way across Waverly, Humphreys County, Dixon County, and then it kept on coming to Nashville, but nobody was getting any reports of being touched down since Benton County. So the Weather Service decided, well, okay, let's just drop this back to a severe thunderstorm warning. Then all of a sudden, right in West Nashville, around John C. Tune, it really tightened up again, and they were right on the ball. Bam, hit the tornado warning. I want to show you what they were looking at on radar. This is on our Radar Scope high-tech app here, and you can see, if you look at the bottom one, the red and the green right next to each other. That's your inbound, outbound winds we always talk about. But at the top is the debris. And you see that dark blue or medium shade of blue that sort of follows right with the red-green couplet. That's the debris that started getting lofted up into the air from West Nashville around John C. Tune all the way across the Germantown area to East Nashville and beyond. Then we switch you from Nashville and Wilson, I should say Davidson County, over to Wilson County. So let me show you this progression. It's a little bit wider of a view if we could switch to our next video there. And you can see Nashville, the left part of your screen, Mount Juliet in the middle, Lebanon to the right. On the bottom one, you can follow that red-green couplet all the way across East Davidson County and all the way across Wilson County. Let's go to our third video to take it all the way over to Cookeville. And there's the couplet. We don't know if it may have lifted before it got to Smith County, but if you look on the bottom one there, you can see the inbound and outbound red to green couplet coming into Cookeville. Might even have had two, one northern and one southern, but either way, that was one storm that went from Benton County, even Carroll County, even Gibson County for that matter, in West Tennessee, all the way to the Cumberland Plateau. It may have touched down in several spots. The Weather Service will determine that. And by the way, they do expect to go to Cookeville tomorrow, tentatively, to go inspect the damage there and hopefully give us a report. They said they'll make that decision officially tomorrow morning. I want to show you what they did find today because they were very busy in East Nashville at EF3, 136 to 140 mile per hour winds. Mount Juliet at EF3 with 155 to 160. Donaldson 160 to 165. EF2 in Germantown 125. John C. Toon Airport 3 EF2 in 130 mile per hour winds. Now, Benton County, the Memphis National Weather Service surveyed that today. They found what they called high-end EF2 damage, which would be near 135 mile an hour winds. They said officially the exact wind speed there still to determine there. But Benton and Carroll counties, and in Benton County, that was just in the northern suburbs of Camden, just north of the Walmart there, and one person unfortunately died there. If you remember, there were tornadoes earlier in the evening in Kentucky, and in northern Christian County, Crofton, Kentucky had an EF1 90 mile per hour winds, and EF2 for Warren County, south through southeast of the Bowling Green area. That should be 115 to, I believe, 120, not 160 there.
Davis, you've been doing this a while. You've seen technology change. How does this new technology help you in pinpointing these storms compared to just Storm Tracker 2000, which is 20 years ago now?
Well, even that was a huge upgrade from the old radar when you finally had to, not only did you see Doppler, Doppler green and red next to each other, know where the storm is, tornado is, but like you said, tracking, where you take this information and put it on a, a geographic information system, a map where you zoom in and see streets. Everybody's used to that. These kids, they grew up with that, but you and me remember when it was just like, you couldn't even zoom in, and so it's amazing technology. They've added the dual pole that allows you to see that debris, and there you are at night. That is a huge thing. Sure, people were able to see things in the lightning like you're seeing here, but besides that, you were able to see that debris being lofted, and as soon as the Weather Service saw that, and besides the fact they saw the velocity tighten up, they issued the tornado warning. And I'll tell you what, I was coming in from 5 miles north of where the tornado passed, and there is debris, as in roofing insulation, that had landed all over people's cars and all up and down the road. I even saw big pieces of aluminum, which is very light as well. So that stuff must have been lofted very, very high to end up falling about 5 miles away.
This is some incredible video from the Tennessee Department of Correction. This is the old state prison, the old maximum security facility here in West Nashville, across the river, across the way, across Briley Parkway from the current facility. This closed down in about 1986. It's been used in several different movies, and you can see the damage there. The front wall is collapsed. You can see the roof is gone in places. The building is vacant, but it's historic. And it's been damaged quite a bit by this storm.
Davis, I have a question for you. We're seeing so many different areas being impacted by this storm, and we know that the path was, at least 75 miles long?
If you take it from John C. Toon all the way to Cookeville, it's about 75 miles there. Whether there was a gap somewhere in between, let's say, Lebanon and Cookeville, or Smith County, really, remains to be seen, okay, whether it stayed on the ground that whole time there. The Weather Service was trying to inspect whether there was any kind of gap between Donaldson and Mount Juliet. And I drove through a place in Hermitage, Dodson Chapel Road. The police actually were making everybody go that way to get on the interstate. You couldn't get on in Hermitage. And there's some pretty major damage on Dodson Chapel Road, and that would be in between Mount Juliet and the Donaldson area where Danielle's been reporting from today. So that might connect the dots to say it's on the ground to there. The only question is there a gap when we get between, let's say, Lebanon and Smith County on into Cookeville?
So the whole damage may just be one big tornado.
Right,
yeah, it could be. It was definitely the same storm. Whether it dropped down and came up again or not is the only question there.
How did it keep that strength, though? The atmosphere was just that unstable?
Yeah, we had with a lot of this what they call vertical, shear in the vertical, and you had the difference in winds from the surface to aloft was probably running 60 to 70 miles per hour, or in knots, maybe let's say 55 to 60 knots, okay? And that difference in winds makes it. Now, what you also need to do is have the gasoline for the engine. That's the thermodynamics, meaning warmer air and moisture.
Yeah.
What fooled a lot of people, at least for East Middle Tennessee, it was in the 50s over there. The Storm Prediction Center didn't even put the tornado watch out for that area at first. And I showed on the air, hey, look, they're in the 50s, that's why. And it apparently may have warmed up just at the last minute. Or there was enough shear to overcome.
Gave it that jet fuel.
Yeah, maybe just enough shear to overcome that minimal amount of instability. So it's a balance between those two. And these early spring-like situations, and even the winter-like situations, we call them high shear, low instability, and it's very hard to predict.
Wow. Science at its best. Thank you so much, Davis. Let's send it over to Linda Ong, standing by at the alert desk.
All right, well, Justin, the Cookeville Police Department is just releasing details for those who'd like to volunteer with tornado cleanup tomorrow. Officials are directing people to meet at the old Hobby Lobby on South Jefferson Avenue at 8 a.m. Now, you need to bring your own safety gear as well as equipment. Upon arrival, you are urged not to go out on your own. First, volunteers will need to check in with the on-site county official, and then you will be assigned to a specific area to work. Back to you.
Now that it's gotten dark, our crews are out investigating the different scenes. It's a totally different view. A lot of these places you can't get to. A lot of these places have no electricity. News 2's Brent Ramonda is one of those out there investigating for us. Brent?
Yeah, absolutely. It's pitch dark out here as we drive around. We were in Germantown. We've moved over to East Nashville now. That is Woodland Street off in the distance. You can see the flashing lights from emergency crews that are out here. We've seen a lot of people trying to board up their restaurants, their homes and whatnot. And if you're familiar with this area, there are a lot of restaurants off to the right here. This is what's left of Boombahs. You can see the entire roof here coming off. A lot of the structures here just mangled and destroyed from this weather that came through, and that's what we're seeing a lot of from around Nashville. As mentioned, you know, we've talked to a lot of people who said that they have had significant damage to their homes, to their businesses, and this one right now, I mean, I can't even describe. When we pulled up to this scene, I was eating at this restaurant about 3 weeks ago, and it looks completely different. That's what a lot of people are seeing as they drive around. So, you know, as we move through the city here, it is very dark. It is very dangerous in terms of these low power lines. You know, there's a lot of debris on the roadway. If you take a look down, you can see, you know, just pieces like this here. If you imagine this when that tornadoes touch, or when the storm moved through, I mean, this can do a lot of damage to someone, and this is just scattered throughout the area here. So we are taking in Boombahs right now, and we're going to continue to move on through East Nashville and look for damage. But again, as you mentioned, very dark out here. The power's still out. You know, hats off to those crews that are trying to get things up and running again. It is going to take some time, obviously. There are a number of places you can reach out to for help. The officers out here, hats off to them, emergency personnel as well, because they are working diligently and trying to get things back to normal. Again, just very tragic situation with so many people left without going home to their apartments, without food, without clothes. We actually just talked to a gentleman here who said he's actually driving around and looking for people that need some food, and he's dropping that off. So again, you know, the worst of times bring out the best in people, and we're seeing that firsthand out here as we continue to drive around. Guys, back to you.
Brent, quickly, how difficult is it getting around? There's no electricity in a lot of these places.
Well, not only for us, but a lot of people who went out earlier to maybe get some supplies and go back to their homes. There's a lot of dead ends. It's basically like trying to navigate in a maze here. You go down one street, there might be a tree down another street. You might have power lines down, and then you also have police that are blocking off some sections because there are these buildings that are, you know, structurally unsound. I mean, there is a lot of damage, and it's certainly difficult with the lights out because, you know, you could take a turn and there's a power line down. So obviously a lot to think about for everyone that is out trying to navigate these roads. Again, the best piece of advice, just stay in if you can, because a lot of dangerous situations out there right now.
Right, Ramada, appreciate the information and the insight. It is eerie outside.
Yep, now we're going to head over to Lebanon. That's where we find CB Cotton.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Photojournalist CB Cotton here. I wanted to provide you all with a little bit of backstory to the family I'm about to introduce you to. I'm coming at you from cell phone video because I've been out in the field all day with my gear and it needs a little bit of a break. That's severe weather event coverage for you. I'm here off of Castle Heights Avenue in Lebanon, and I spoke with one family who tells me what they witnessed early this morning, nothing short of a miracle. That's how they're describing it. This is one of those areas that was hit pretty bad by the storm, and the damage out here is really visceral. It will serve as a reminder in the days, months, and even year to come of the road to recovery that this area has left. But this one family you're about to listen to, they tell me their father, an 85-year-old Korean War veteran, rode out the storm inside their home that suffered a lot of damage. I'm talking a roof completely blown off and a kitchen absolutely crushed. but their father came out with only a scratch. Take a listen.
You see this on TV before, but you never think it'll happen to you.
The tornado happened, and Jackie Parker says his dad witnessed it.
My sister was in the front bedroom, and my dad was in the back bedroom. They're the one who lives here.
The home's roof blew off, and Parker's dad was hit.
Little pieces of wood hit him in the head as he was trying to get up away from it.
But the injuries, only minor.
He was at the hospital, but they're releasing him now, so I guess he's going to be all right.
And his outlook, never better. When the front of the house was also torn off, his dad said,
he said it's raining in the den.
He believes his father's mindset and survival is a gift.
I don't see how they survived.
But he doesn't question it. He's just grateful.
The Lord was with them. That's the only thing you can say. Yeah, because the whole house is torn. It'll have to be torn down.
And it is such a wonderful thing that Mr. Jackie Parker is able to find the good in this tragic situation. He says while their home is a total loss, his dad is alive and well, and his sister is alive and well. So that is what they're counting their blessings for tonight. As we mentioned earlier, 3 people here in Lebanon had a much different fate. We know from emergency officials that an elderly couple died while they slept through the storm, and a woman in her 30s passed away while she took shelter. Extremely, extremely tragic. And it is so sad for so many people in this community. I've had people approach me to talk about it, and people here are so deeply upset at this loss of life. I'll be out here in Lebanon and Wilson County for the rest of this evening, keeping you all updated with stories of survival and resilience. I'll send it back to you all in the studio.
The stories of survival, they definitely give us hope, and I think
Strength.
it's important
A lot
to
of
hear
strength.
those. Thank you so much, CB.
News 2's Linda Ong also spoke with a survivor. Linda?
Yeah, well, Bob and Erica, I spent much of the day in Mount Juliet, of course, that city directly in the path of the tornado. So we saw widespread damage, especially kind of east and west of North Mount Juliet Road. Of course, we have West Wilson Middle School with widespread damage there. Also, Mount Juliet Christian Academy, several businesses, and of course, homes. We talked to one man in Mount Juliet. He lives very close to North Mount Juliet Road along Bennett Road, a subdivision very nearby. Now, he rode out the storm, his home completely demolished, windows kind of blown out, the roof completely missing, just trying to salvage what he and his family can. But you know what? They walked away unscathed. Here is the moment he described the closet that saved his dog and himself. And then you made your way here.
Made my way over here and just kind of popped down. Sat here like this for a second, just listening. We were on the phone, and next thing you know, I told him to come over here, and I'm holding his legs at first and trying to keep him close to me because I know that it's about to possibly get bad. And by the time it starts making the roaring and all the noise and hitting, he's wanting to bury in here with me, and that's when I turn sideways and go ahead and do that because the wind went ahead and pushed the door. So it was crazy. I mean, it was like that.
This closet saved your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it did.
Amazing. And again, he, his dog, and his family all walked away unscathed. But of course, with their home being a total loss, they will have to stay at a hotel temporarily. This is, of course, the situation for so many families in Mount Juliet. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Hey, I want to talk about the American Red Cross really quickly. They're doing so much, but it is so important for you if you're watching this right now and maybe family and friends are trying to reach you. If you could list yourself as safe and well on the American Red Cross website, I think that would be very helpful. Again, we still have 77 people missing out of Putnam County. We do have the list of those names on our website, WKRN.com.
One of the more dramatic pieces of video we've seen earlier today was some of the damage out at the John Toon Airport. This is in West Nashville, over in western part of the state, western part of the city, over by the state prison, over by the old prison that was damaged. Look at these pictures. Awful. This is a corporate fleet kind of an airport, private jets, private planes, and they are all tossed around like toys. They're crashed into each other. The airport's going to be closed for at least 10 days, they're saying, while they clean this mess up. There's issues with airline fuel and jet fuel they have to deal with. A lot of the buildings are destroyed. Look at this pile of planes here. That was a hangar. It's no longer there. So the runway is going to be closed. There's close to some of the hangars there that survived. The airport will be closed for a while, so anybody who has a plane there or flies in and out of John Tune will now have to go to Smyrna or come into B&A or another location because this facility will be closed for at least a week. They're saying maybe as much as 10 days.
Wow, and we have some new information coming in now. This one via tweet, if we could pull that up. It looks like some Knox County rescue officials, they tweeted Knox County Rescue is deploying 2 additional trucks, an all-terrain vehicle, and an additional 5 crew members to Putnam County following the tornadoes. This will supplement, I should say, the task force deployed earlier today, including our heavy rescue collapse truck and manpower. I'm trying to read that with my 20/20 vision on the screen. But again, it just shows how many people are coming to our area, Middle Tennessee, to help us out because we have seen such widespread damage. So many families were impacted by this, and it's heartbreaking.
We saw a lot of stories of survivals. We saw some close calls as well. News 2's Andy Cordan has one of those stories.
Everywhere I go, there's a story. A hole in a wall, certainly a story, right? This is Germantown, it's a house. Young man was sleeping right here. His friend said, "Get out of here." Suddenly this happens. Could have been his head had he been here. This is the lady that owns a house, Lisa Stetter. What is this house, ma'am?
Well, it's actually a nonprofit organization called Crossroads Pet Shop and Adopt. So we provide job training, employment, and housing for young adults. So we had 4 residents up here sleeping up here last night.
Talk about the close call right there.
Sure. So the young people were up here, and the several of the residents were in the hallway, and they were talking to Joseph, who's in this room, and he was thinking it wasn't going to be a big deal, so he was hanging in here, and they insisted that he go into the hallway, and almost immediately afterward, something very large came through that and left a huge hole and probably would have done him some severe harm if they hadn't gotten him out. So his friend saved him last night.
I've been in Germantown about an hour. I've already heard 3 miraculous stories. Yours is certainly one of them, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we also had an adoptable dog escape in the storm last night.
You get it back?
We got her back today, so another miracle.
Good deal.
Good
so,
stuff.
Hector, I'll just say, you know, you can now get some air conditioning here in Germantown, but they have a lot of cleaning up to do, but there's also a lot of great stories. We're going to keep telling them. Andy Cordan, back to you guys.
I'm glad there's so many survivor stories. This is a terrible tragedy. We lost 24 lives, but so many people survived. It could have been so much worse because it was so devastatingly strong.
And you were talking about the tornado, what was it, 1988?
1998, the one that went through downtown Nashville.
Okay, and you're saying that since there are so many more people that moved to downtown Nashville since that devastating tornado, it could have been a lot worse.
That's 22 years ago, and in 1998, basically a few hundred people lived downtown. There's several thousand who live downtown now.
Right.
The Gulch and Sobro and all those places didn't exist.
I also want to mention, if you are looking for a place to stay tonight, the American Red Cross of Tennessee posting on Facebook some shelters that you can go to. So we have the Nashville Farmers Market on 900 Rosa L. Parks Boulevard in Nashville, Centennial Sportsplex, 222 25th Avenue North. You have Nashville East High School, 110 Gallatin Avenue. In Lebanon, you have Highland Heights Church of Christ, that is 505 North Cumberland Street. And then in Cookeville, we have First Baptist, that is located at 18 South Walnut Avenue. Again, if you are in need of shelter tonight, make sure to make way. And now we're looking at some more aerial footage, again, of the fire, and we were talking about all of the problems that we are seeing following the tragedy. Obviously, we see the devastation with the tornadoes, and then now we're watching out for the looting, the fires, the power lines. And mind you, if you're watching this right now, stay home and stay away from all those power lines. We've got traffic lights out. We got to make sure that we're careful with that.
On the counter side of that, we saw so many folks volunteering today as the storm is just hours old. They continue to do that. People in Wilson County that were devastated, in Mount Juliet and Lebanon, the leaders there talked about that a little bit. Let's listen.
As the sun rose up on us today, there's a different feeling for many in Wilson County. There were tears of joy to see another day. There were tears of sorrow for those that saw destruction and loss of life. And there were sights of unbelief. But for sure there was a sense of hope. Our county was filled with many who wore the name of another jurisdiction on their shoulder, but they worked hard for the citizens of Wilson County. In the dark hours of the morning, they put their life on the line for us by fighting fires, stepping over live power lines, and walking through buildings that were not structurally sound. I cannot begin to thank these first responders enough.
Yeah, without first responders, there would just be devastating loss. They go towards the danger. And all the volunteers who took it upon themselves to come out and try to clear a driveway, to clear a tree, that help is so much appreciated and is going to be needed even more the next few days.
And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we heard from officials today, more than 5,000 people, which is amazing. They have already offered to volunteer to help those who have been impacted. Yeah, I know. So let's take another look in East Nashville. That's where we find our Alex Dennis.
We're here at this apartment complex in East Nashville, and you can still hear the sirens going off, whether it is fire alarms or something, but there is a screeching in the night air that's really kind of haunting to tell us what we know is out here if the sun was still up. The water is dripping from where the pipes have busted, and then look at over here. This group of friends trying to lower down this couch. They suspect that this apartment complex is going to be condemned, so they're doing all they can to get any of their furniture out that has not been damaged. I want to walk us around this way too. There's a young lady named Natalie. So they have all of their friends are together. They have 4 or 5 different vehicles. They're working to, get it all together. Natalie, it looks like you got a lot going on. They really are working straight through the night. Oh my gosh. So
Yes.
So what's going on here?
We're just helping our friend evacuate her condo.
So the damage that you've seen as you've been driving around the area, what has that been like for you?
Really devastating and really sad, and just can't really believe it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
What are the plans from here once you get her out of her place?
I don't know yet. We don't know. Probably live with friends for now.
Well, I'm glad you guys are out here. Be very safe, please.
We will.
Look at all of her clothes. Bless her heart. And that's just a stark reminder that these people have so much going on now. Their lives are completely uprooted as we continue to be here in East Nashville, where the EF3 tornado touched down in the early morning hours. Those are winds between 160 to 165 miles per hour. So we're here in East Nashville as people try to get all of their stuff out of their homes. Of course, we see that the power is still out in the area and the alarms are still sounding, and there's pipes broken and the water dripping. You see the full scene here. A lot still going on in East Nashville tonight. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Alex. People are resilient. They come out in the middle of the night. They do what they have to do to survive, and they do it well.
We've seen it time and time again. Let's take a look at some aerial footage that we are seeing out of Donaldson, a very hard-hit area. That's where Danielle Breezy has been reporting from all night long and all day. She's been a busy woman. But, man, that really takes your breath away.
Just look at that site. Look at those trees, how flat they are, the strength that it took to knock those trees down. Look at those houses. One house looks pretty much fine. The next house, the roof is gone. Even past that, the whole top of the house is gone. This is a school, I believe. It is just completely crashed in. You can see the twist almost of the wood as the storm went over it. And you can follow the path. You can see the scar on the ground there where the tree is knocked down. The telephone pole, the pole is knocked down. Some of the devastation is truly incredible that people live through this.
And you know what? Something that I'm looking forward to finding out is just how many people were impacted by this. I'm really interested in the numbers. I mean, we know the unfortunate fatalities. 24 people are dead, but I want to know just how many families were impacted by this, how many houses were leveled. So that will be interesting to find out. And I'm almost nervous to find out what that number is.
Wilson County was hit hard. Sheriff Robert Ryan is on the phone with us. Sheriff, how are things situated tonight? How is the power getting restored? How are folks doing out there?
We got personnel out on the road. Electric companies trying to get all the power they can restored. Once it got dark, it sort of put us into trying to secure these areas that's been damaged, keep people out of them overnight, and we got extensive damage here in Wilson County.
What would you have to say to all of our viewers that are listening to you right now? What would you like them to know?
I would ask that be patient. Be patient. It's going to take some time to get this cleared up. Our main problem is we're trying to secure these areas. It's been hit. Mount Juliet's been hit real hard. Lebanon's been hit real hard in several areas out in the county. We're getting a lot of people just driving through. It's sort of impeding some of the things we need to do. We're trying to, and especially in the dark time, people don't need to be in them areas.
Sheriff Bryan, we've been through tornadoes before. How bad is the destruction you're seeing? Is it worse than you thought it was going to be?
And, we started getting calls when it started last night, I saw your weather people that was on the air. They had that look on their face.
Serious.
They was very, yes, it was. I could see it, and we was, we really didn't. We knew we had damage throughout the county, but we really had to wait till daylight to see what actually did happen. And it's just a bad situation, and our thoughts and prayers goes out to all these families that's been affected, especially the ones that's lost lives in this.
What do you tell folks out there who want to come and help, but they don't want to get in the way, and you don't want them in the way? What should they do to volunteer, as it were, so they can be helpful and not hurtful?
Yes, it's really important that we know who's out trying to assist, and the volunteers that's called in throughout the day just wanting to help. It's just amazing. We asked that, Lebanon's got a deal set up tomorrow around 9 o'clock at the police department, so they can identify them volunteers that's wanting to help, and they'll put them where they need to be. Mount Juliet's got a website on their website where you can log in and figure out where the help is needed. But it's real important that we know who's out here because we don't want no other people injured or anything like that. So that's where we're staying right now.
Sheriff Robert Bryan, Wilson County, stay safe. We appreciate your work. I know you got a long night ahead and long days ahead. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Hey, and I just want to thank y'all. I just want to thank y'all too. Y'all got the word out quick about this weather, and like I said, I saw it y'all's weather people's face. So
we appreciate that very much, Sheriff.
That's how we knew it was going to be
Thank
bad.
y'all.
Hey, let's send things back over to Andy Cordan. He is standing by live for us. And Andy, you talked to us a little bit earlier that you had another story for us.
Well, basically, we're still at the Central Precinct Command Post, as we told you earlier. They are the ones who are handling Germantown. You've got 24 officers. They're working 12-hour shifts. We can tell you that at least 17 roads are closed. The power lines are down all over the place. And, I just wanted to show you a little bit about what's going on. They've got their cars here. They've got their tent set up. This is pretty much where they're working. Their water, their food, and they've been working here diligently, assiduously for at least the last hour. They are poring over their map because essentially as roads are cleared, then they wipe them clean and they say that road's open. And so they're pretty much trying to figure out where to station all of their guys. And so we talked to them earlier today, and they say they basically want to do this because it's just what they've been trained to do. And a lot of these guys were here for the floods in 2010, just like many of us were at News 2. And though it's horrible, you just kind of get in a mode and you kind of know how to do your job, and that's what these guys know how to do. So we're still driving around out here. Let's send it back to you guys right now.
Andy, quickly, these guys, as you said, they are trained for this. This is what they trained for, but when you actually have to do it, it's always a different scenario, and they come upon things maybe they aren't expecting.
Well, I thought I asked him a tricky question. I go, how do you plan for this? He goes, oh, no, we tabletop this. We have scenarios for this. I don't want to steal their thunder, but here, come. Guys, I hope you don't have anything real super secret. I just want to show folks at home what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, Sarge, I talked to you earlier, and I'm busting into the Sarge's life here, but he's a good guy. Why are you doing this for your community, Sarge?
Well, this is what we do. So we're trained to do.
And talk about what's going on right now.
Well, we're just allocating resources and making sure we have the post filled and the streets closed down, and we have relief sent to our guys, keep them hydrated and fresh.
And to the untrained eye, this looks like a mess, but you got this figured out, man.
Well, yeah, we do. Yeah, it is. I mean, we kind of know what every dot means and know where we're sending people and kind of keep track of our people. We don't want to lose anybody or leave anybody out there too long.
And last question, how are things going so far?
It's going great.
It's going well?
Very smooth, yeah.
And for those folks who maybe are watching from wherever and they live here, what good news do you have for them? When are lights coming back on? Any good news?
Well, I think history speaks for itself. We always come back. We always get through this, and we're resilient here in Nashville, and we're going to make it.
Good thing is the weather. We got good weather in the forecast the next couple of days, so that's really going to help expedite the process and get us where we need to be a lot faster.
Because we've all worked a lot of tornadoes, and a lot of times it's still nasty right afterwards, right?
So the weather's going to be very, very helpful to us at this point in time.
All right, guys. I have taken up too much of your time. We do appreciate what you're doing, though.
Problem.
Thank you guys so much. So anyway, we're going to be out here with these guys. We're going to keep documenting their hard work because they deserve it. So right now, and before, I'm sorry, I'm probably exhausted. I said I was in East Nashville. I am not. I am in Germantown. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Andy. You're doing a great job out there trying to get new information. These folks are working very hard through difficult conditions and into the night.
So much damage, a lot going on. So thanks again for keeping us posted. We just spoke to the Wilson County Sheriff Davis, and he was mentioning how he was watching News 2 and he noticed the faces of our weather crew. And I want to ask you personally, when you start to see some of this stuff kind of unfold on your computer models, what goes through your head? Do you think, oh no, this isn't good?
Well, in this case, you know, you're looking at the radar and that type of thing. And, you know, Danielle could see that it was tightening up. We call it tightening up. In other words, the colors start getting brighter because they're programmed to be brighter for higher velocity winds. And, you know, of course, the Weather Service, that's why they all of a sudden reissued the tornado warning. You know, they had dropped the tornado warnings at the end of Dixon County because it just wasn't touching down. And then all of a sudden on the radar, you could tell it was. Then we have the new dual pole that can give you the debris. And they saw that, you know. And one thing, you know, that we learned about, with all this technology and all this, there's still a human element. And people read your body language. And the body language applies to your voice, too.
Sure.
I think that's important, though.
Yes, it is. And it's only natural for Danielle or any of us to, all of a sudden, your voice changes. You know, and because like we say, we go through these all the time where there's maybe more than 50% of the time we have a tornado warning, it never touches down. I guarantee there's a circulation, but you don't know whether it's reaching the ground or not. Now that new debris tracker, or the debris tracker we call it, or correlation coefficient is what it's technically called, that'll tell you at night if it's touching the ground in certain circumstances. You know, that helps. But, you know, once you get the confirmation, you know something's on the ground, and then it's going into a highly populated area. You know, you just can't help but all of a sudden your voice is changing, you know. And
it's the middle of the night.
Yeah, exactly. And Danielle did a great job of pointing, you know, she not only did her voice change and everything, but she said the right thing. She said, it's the middle of the night, people are not awake. I hope their phones are going off and waking them up. And, you know, so I hope that they're all, you know, aware of this. And, you know, you need to, you know, and she was just, you need to get in your shelter now, you know. And so, yeah, that human factor and, you know, coming over through the television screen, you know, it can make a huge difference, you know.
Let's go to News 2's Brent Ramonda. He is out tonight in the dark as we continue to track this storm, and the folks are trying to work through the evening now hours here. Brent?
Yeah, that's right. We're finding a lot of places that many people know about. Boomba's Pizza, one building that was pretty much destroyed here as that strong wind came through East Nashville. And then here behind us, Burger Up, you can see, actually, if we take a look down, you can see where that wind just basically pushed everything this way. And that's where we're seeing a lot of the damage. You can see the brick wall was pushed down. You can see the roof just mangled. And then off to the left here, if we pan off, Derek, you can see the debris left behind from these strong winds. Again, these are places that many people stop to eat at, Burger Up and then Boomba's. And as we continue to drive around, this is the kind of damage we're seeing. A lot of the siding on buildings that have been ripped off, a lot of the furniture from inside actually scattered around these areas. The insulation, again, you know, I feel like a broken record, but that is literally what we're seeing, the same kind of things. You can see the AC unit probably from the roof there just thrown on the ground. This is going to take a lot of work to clean up. We did talk to a few officers in the area saying that they are patrolling around, making sure that no one goes into these businesses. A number of officers in this area as well, just kind of patrolling around to make sure that people are safe. As you can see, I didn't even notice this until Derek looked up. The entire side of the building across from Burger Up is gone. That building blown away. Again, just showing that, you know, if these tornadoes come through, you should always get to the lowest point of the building. Some of those areas on the low had the glass blown out, but for the most part, what we're seeing is a lot of damage. It's kind of unfathomable as we walk around and turn a new corner and find more damage. So you can actually see some of the officers up the street there. They are making sure that these buildings are well secured and kind of walking through them every once in a while to make sure there's no one out and about. But again, very dark out here, and you never know what could happen. But again, those officers out here trying to make sure that these communities stay safe.
Yeah, Brent, quickly, you're in East Nashville. It's very dark. Can you see some of the lights? It's a big area. Does some of East Nashville have electricity tonight?
Where we are, we do not see any light. Woodmont Street, just one street over from us, again, just outside Boombah's and Burger Up, but it is very dark. What you're seeing the light from right now is we're using our car to basically light up these buildings so you can see the damage. Very dark, though, without those lights.
Yeah, a lot of debris, a lot of darkness, and it gets more dangerous. Thanks, Brent Ramonda in East Nashville. We will continue our coverage as we continue to learn new information about this deadly storm. Stay with us.
If you live in Davidson County right now, you need to go down to the lowest level, a room with no windows. This is seriously very important, folks.
When you show up, nothing can really prepare you for that.
It looks like a war zone. I mean, it's shocking. I just tried to go inside. You can't even get it through the inside.
And it looks like almost the worst case scenario, guys.
I was literally about to lay down to go to sleep, and my friend's phone goes off and says to take shelter.
We were home last night, and we had the Channel 2 app, and every time we hear Danielle Breezy, our dogs go crazy. So it kept coming on, and we got up, grabbed the dogs, saw everything on our deck go flying. We ran downstairs, sheltered in place, and when we came back, but walking around here and seeing neighbors with their houses gone.
The power crews are also out here trying to get the lights back on. So it's a mix of trying to make sure that everyone is safe and accounted for.
Now that the sun's come up, we're able to find a lot more of the damage here from last night's tornado. As you can see behind me, this is one of the roadways and parking lots here in 5 Points. Wood has been completely ripped off buildings and just torn down. You can see several of these cars must have been parked here overnight. It looks as if they've been picked up and dropped here. Their windows broken, doors opened, poles completely fallen on these cars. Absolute destruction here.
Yeah, the sky has been really telling and really heartbreaking. So we want to show you some drone video from photojournalist Armando Morales. It's pretty telling of the kind of damage we're looking at.
And the damage is just almost indescribable, but let's just do a little arc for you. That's the interstate over there, and we just talked to some truckers here, and they're down power lines, so watch these, Hector. But that truck flipped over. We just talked to a couple of guys that were inside of it. They told us they knew it was bad when the windows in the truck just started exploding out. And then there was a change in atmospheric pressure. Then they hit the ground and put a blanket over their head. And then they were breaking out windows to rescue people.
There are dozens of homes that have been completely wiped out, roofs off the top of houses. They just closed off this road. We're on Downey Mead Drive, and they just closed off this road because the odor of the gas in the air is unreal. And they're shutting off the gas right now. So we have gas companies, fire departments down there working on this right now. So that's the activity.
I'm here on Main Street in East Nashville. I kind of wanted to walk you through what's going on through the area. Crews have been out here cleaning, but we are seeing residents now coming out and assessing the damage. That sign has sat atop that building since about the 40s. So that's just one indicator that the storms that moved through this area were so strong. We have vehicles that are tipped up over on their side. I spoke to the Fieldhouse Jones owners. They flew in from Chicago earlier this morning. They said they could not believe the damage that was done in such a short amount of time.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of this March 3rd tornado, a deadly tornado. We know at least 24 people have been killed. We know the damage is extensive from Nashville all the way to Putnam County.
Just an awful situation. Our hearts go out to all of you and anybody who is involved in this. And we have a lot of places that were impacted last night by the tornado or tornadoes. We want to start first in Putnam County.
Bob and Erica, yeah, we are continuing to give you coverage here out of Putnam County, where we have seen the most amount of fatalities, with 18 at this point confirmed by local officials. And it's because of damages like this that we have seen. Take a look at this home that we just found here on Locust Grove Road off of West Broad Street, where we have been seeing some of the most amount of damages. This house actually being taken and flipped up. You can see just why people are very concerned about some of the people that may be trapped. We have 77 people right now that they are still searching for, that need to be accounted for at this point. And we have about 75% of those hard searches that we have been talking about today that have been completed. 25% more that people are going to be looking throughout the course of the night to make sure that everybody is accounted for here in Putnam County and west of Cookeville. We are going to continue to bring you the very latest as we continue to learn more throughout the overnight hours. For
For now, reporting in Cookeville, Brooke Reese, News 2.
Thank you, Brooke. The nighttime hours makes it such more and more dangerous. You just can't see anything, and there's wires down, there's blockage in roads. You got to be careful.
And we want to stay in Cookeville right now. That's where we find our Eric Egan. Eric, we're learning of 77 people still unaccounted for. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, thanks, guys. It's a heavy number tonight, and a lot of heavy hearts here across Putnam County and Cookeville. We know at the moment 18 people are dead. 88 people were treated for their injuries at local hospitals. But again, that number, that 77 unaccounted for. A couple of hours ago, officials here told me they'd be releasing a list. They released that list maybe about half an hour ago of the 77 people that have been still unaccounted for here locally. And they want us to share those names, get them out to the public to try to bring down that number so people can reconnect. Earlier in the day, they didn't have any cell service, or maybe some people are at home with loved ones. They don't know their names on the list, and they don't know people are still looking for them. So we already have this posted as well on our website, of course, WKRN.com. We have the 77 names. I'm also going to read some of these names. Maybe you're hearing this for the first time. Maybe you can't get to your iPhone, your tablet, your computer, whatever it might be. So some of the 77 names on the list go as Tommy and Thomas Saunders, Rachel Bauman, Tommy Curtis, Christina Hardin, Luciano Gonzalez, Mary Gibson, Catherine Julian, Crystal Renfro, Doreen Black. Again, these are 77 people unaccounted for. It's a big number. Officials here, they don't believe the worst. They don't believe that every one of these people are dead. We're also just getting word in my ear. The number has gone up. We're getting some confirmation from our producers back in the studios, also from officials here on the ground in Putnam County. The number is higher than 77. Guys, it's all the more important why we need to bring that information to you. If you're able to, we have the full list at WKRN.com, but the number is growing. We said earlier tonight that more searching is happening really as we speak, as you saw Brooke just reporting a moment ago. Search crews are still out there tonight in about 3 subdivisions in Cookeville. They're going through debris here in the nighttime hours. They've brought in lights. They have about 60 or so crews, really from all over. We met some firefighters from Knoxville here volunteering their time to try to help find people, to try to help find survivors, even to help try to find victims, of course. Some of the names, again, the list is growing. It's over 77 now, people still unaccounted for tonight across Cookeville and Putnam County. Rocky Smith, Stella Zoller, Ryan Packington, Tracy and Cody McGee, Jean and Clark Dennis, Maureen Langford and Andy Otis, Edward Carter, Tommy Knight, Bernice Carter, Robin and Bethany Babb, Maria and Ron Rakaska, Roy and Charlene Byers, Jessica Davis, Bob White. Guys, it's a big list. 77, it's a heavy number, and to hear that number grow instead of go down, we want to bring that number down. We want to bring that number down when families reunite and more people come together and they're able to locate each other. What hits me, guys, and I've said this throughout the night, 18 people are dead tonight. Some of them are children. We know that. It's beyond heartbreaking. And reading off these names of this list, again, we also have this list at WKRN.com. These are husbands and wives, likely, or these are family members. So it's not just one person. It's families. It's families. It's loved ones. It's husbands and wives. It's moms and dads and kids. So a lot of people across this area, they need that help tonight. If you can, please listen to our coverage. Please go to our website. Spread the word the best you can, folks. We'll continue to do our part here, of course. We'll send it back to you
Eric,
guys.
I asked you earlier, you drove from Nashville to Putnam County, and basically the length of the storm track. What was it like? What kind of damage did you see? Because it really paralleled I-40 as it headed east.
And it was so widespread. It's pretty eerie, Bob, to be honest. And not only on I-40, there was a lot of damage on 70 as well, because for a while I was on Lebanon Pike turning into 70, and then I went down to I-40 for the rest of the way. Just massive power poles on the ground, wires across some of the road as well. I drove by a few shopping centers. You know how you'll have trees within medians within a shopping center? All these trees uprooted, other trees down along the interstate, just as if somebody walked on them. You know, giant 30 to 50-foot trees, whatever it might be, just laid across the ground. Every now and then you'd see a sign up there in the branches. So it gives you a sense of what went through the sheer power of a tornado. You know, that's why we stay on TV all day. That's why we break into programming, because this is what can happen. It's the worst of the worst, but that's what we fear. That's why, you know, we do our best to get the information out there. So you knew what was coming almost, Bob, as you got closer to the eastern part of Middle Tennessee here into Putnam County and Cookeville. And then once you got here, it was like bam, all over again. It hit this area pretty hard.
We see you have power there in Cookeville. How is the affected area? Is power being restored?
You know, I don't have that answer. We do know that cell service is being restored. I know the immediate areas that took the biggest brunt, they do not have power. That's something we can get on the horn for and get that information, because once we get that, and once we get, you know, water to people helping out and meals and come the morning light, it's going to be like this all over again. And we hope to have more information in person with officials here in Putnam County at 8 in the morning. But until then, you know, crews are going to work as long as they can throughout the night, and once the morning hits, it's all hands on deck once again. It's going to be a process.
Eric Egan in Cookeville, we appreciate the update.
Hopefully we can get back with him in just a little bit, because I want to ask him about the field there too. And Eric, you're doing such a great job providing us that information. We'll get back with you in maybe 10 to 15 minutes. I do want to add, if you are watching this right now, you want to help specifically in Putnam County, you can email helpnow@putnamcountytn.gov. Again, if you would like to help those in Putnam County, you can email helpnow@putnamcountytn.gov. Let's send things on over to Andy Cordan, standing by in East Nashville.
You got us, Andy?
Yeah, I'm here, Bob. How are you guys?
We're good.
I'm in Germantown. I'm actually on 9th Avenue North. You saw me about 10 minutes ago. And getting here is a process. You know why? Because there's 17 roads that are kind of closed down. They look a lot like this. If it wasn't for my man Hector with the high beams and the lights, you wouldn't see a thing. And this is what you pretty much see on set. Show Hector what's going on. The lighting's rough.
We have to coordinate, and we have to make sure we know where our personnel are. So we have this map, and we put our dots where the roads are impassable. It's important for us, public safety. There's a lot of trucks doing work, maintenance work, a lot of trying to get the power restored in this area.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions. Sure. I talked to the guys at the AutoZone over there in your quadrant, and they got a security guard because he said our loot, our stuff, our products still in the business. Is that a concern that you might have to deal with?
It's a concern. You know, anytime you have a situation like this, there's always a propensity for people to take advantage of that, and we don't want that to happen. Yes. I know a lot of the businesses are hiring security personnel to come in there. That helps us out greatly, but we do have roving groups that are specifically looking for that. I think if you want to talk about it being hard, it's just a matter of keeping up with everything that's going on. But we all have training for that. You know, this department invests a lot in our training just for these situations. Our tabletop exercises is exactly what this is.
So tell me what's going on. I drive by here, I see you guys. What are you doing? You're brainstorming right now. What kind of information are you acquiring and then sending out to your guys?
What we acquire is we have all our personnel. We check in with them because some of these roads may have been impassable at 8 o'clock this morning. And now, because of the fine work from NES or Public Works, and they're out there, they've been working very hard, the roads may be passable now. So we can open up those quadrants, we can open up those roads so people can get back to where they live. We want to make sure that people don't go into buildings that might still be structurally unsound. So we get updates back and forth. And I was sitting at home last night, watching it unfold. I was watching News 2, I was watching what was going on, and I felt helpless. I wanted to get in my car and I wanted to come down here. And I think that is the mentality of all the officers in our city.
I think a lot of us feel helpless right now, unfortunately.
You know, and Andy knows this, and this is a real testament to Middle Tennessee and the citizens who live here. We've been through many different kinds of tragedies, tornadoes, floods, and the looting issue is always very minimal. People respect each other. It's very minimal. It happens. It's not to say that it doesn't happen, but it doesn't happen a lot. And the police talked about that, how they can depend on people protecting themselves, how that citizens help citizens, and they don't have to really worry a whole lot about looters coming in, that it just isn't seen. It's a real great testament.
Andy just showed us that they are working around the clock and trying to keep all of you safe. That is the most important thing right now. Let's go back to Brent Ramonda. He is standing by in East Nashville for us. Now we're going to Linda, I'm actually told, at the alert desk.
All right, Erica and Bob, we have the latest on the power situation in the areas affected by the tornado. At this hour, several thousands of people are still without electricity. NES reports just in that more than 35,000 customers are still without power tonight. Now, this is down, though, from over 50,000 customers earlier this morning, so some improvement there. NES also says that as crews assess the damaged areas, the broken pole count has more than doubled from earlier today to nearly 400. The utility company says crews are working as quickly as possible to restore power, but of course, the poles do take time to replace. Back to you.
Thank you, Linda. And it's really difficult in those areas like Mount Juliet and East Nashville where the power lines are just gone. It just takes a while.
You got to stay away from those too. So dangerous. Okay, now, like I just said, we're going to go out to Brent Ramonda. He is standing by live in East Nashville. Brent, what are you seeing?
Yeah, that's right. We're here on South 13th Street, and you can see the damage to this church here behind us. Devastating. I mean, this is an old church that's been here for a long time. We actually met up with a few people that have been handing out supplies, and Jimmy is just one of those throughout the day. Jimmy, you've got a phone station for people out there that might need something, some food and water. You know, how did you come up with this idea? You said you don't even live, you know, close to this street here.
Well, we've got lots of friends in the area, and it's just been real devastating. Just wanted to do what we could.
Have you had anybody come up and, you know, take advantage of the phone charging or the?
There's been a few, not as many as I'd hoped, but I got here a little late, so we'll be here tomorrow.
Perfect. And you were shining. I mean, could you shine what you were saying? What church is this? And it looks like you can see some of the old.
This is the East End Methodist Church. This side, it's really dangerous. You can see some of these brick walls that are leaning, and the brick over here that's kind of hanging off. So, you know, I've seen some people over here looking, and they really need to be careful.
You know, as we continue to drive around, we've seen some of these older structures. This church, just one of them. You know, it's a sad thing. These structures have been here for so long, and now they're just left, you know, in a pile of rubble, basically. You know, a lot of cleanup left to do. What are your plans kind of moving forward?
Just to help as best as I can, and that's about all I can do. You know, got to be here for people.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Again, this was on South 13th Street. Jimmy is handing out some water, some food. If you need somewhere, you know, to charge something, he is here to help. And we've seen actually a lady that actually drove by while we were here asking if we needed any sandwiches, if anyone needed any sandwiches like that. So you're seeing a side of people that comes out in these tragic times that gives you some hope. You know, a lot of people trying to help others that were left devastated. Some people without homes, you know, some people might not have that charger. As mentioned, they've been working on their home all day and try to get in touch with some loved ones and are unable to because the power is out in this area. So we're going to see a lot of people, a lot of volunteers. We've already seen a lot of volunteers coming forward to help out in this situation. And again, just a sad thing to see some of these older buildings, many people's apartments just destroyed from this storm. Guys,
and
back
Brent,
to you.
It is so important to see that hope that you were just talking about. I do have a question. In the earlier live shot that we had with you, we saw a few police cars out in the distance. Are they still there? And if they are, can you explain kind of what they're doing in that area?
Yeah, so basically the officers are out in these areas. They're blocking them off where there's some dangerous, you know, power lines down, some areas that, you know, could fall. They're also, you know, monitoring the situation. As mentioned, unfortunately, in situations like this, sometimes there are people that decide to do things that they shouldn't, some looting and whatnot. So police want to make their presence known, let people know that they are out. You know, if you have some questions, certainly approach them. Ask, you know, how you can get some help. But again, there's also volunteers out there. So a lot of these police, we've seen them kind of just driving through, making sure that everyone is okay. Again, the power is out, so, you know, you can't really see what's going on. You don't know if someone is in need of something, but certainly a lot of community volunteers stepping up to the plate right now, and that's what you want to see in a situation like this.
Brent, the building you're showing us, the damage is incredible. Has anybody been able to assess that building? Is it salvageable? Do we even know?
Well, again, we just have been driving pretty much pulling up to these locations. We haven't seen this area blocked off, but it is a scary situation because if you look up, Derek, if you can pan up to the hanging brick there, this is a very old structure. And, you know, at any time, something like this could just fall down. So it just gives you a sense of an idea of just how volatile these situations are where, you know, something could just fall. So the dangers are not over, even with the storms moving past. You certainly want to take caution when walking around if you are near some of these bigger buildings. I'm sure they will get somebody out to assess, but there is so much damage right now that it's hard to take in all the damage that we've seen. So again, if you are in this area, certainly stay away from the building. Do not enter them. They're you know, structurally unsound. I mean, they could fall at any moment.
You may have said this earlier and I may have missed it. Is this a church? What kind of building is this? Do we know?
Yes, this is a church. I'm going to refer to Jimmy once more. It is the East End United Methodist Church. On the sign it says all are welcome. You can see it off in the distance there, but we're going to kind of walk just up the street. Walk up the street here and just kind of show you some more of the damage to the front. That's not the only part. You can actually see the steeple right there that is smashed. That is the second steeple that we've seen blown off of a church. And the sad thing is these are very old structures. Jimmy was pointing out as we were talking a moment ago, you can see the older brick. They've actually put brick on the outside. So it's, you know, hard to talk about, but, you know, these are very historic buildings. I mean, they've been here for a very long time, and now you're taking a look. It's very sad to see what this storm has done to the communities.
Hey, and Brent, you were just talking and letting us know that people should be staying inside, stay safe. But I know oftentimes our viewers are worried about all of us, specifically the reporters out in the field. So can you explain to everybody what you're doing to stay safe tonight?
That's right. Well, we are staying back. As you can see, we are, you know, taking into effect all of the dangerous situations. Again, right now we're across the street. You know, we're heeding all the warnings that police are giving as well. But we do want to get out here to show you and document, you know, just how devastating this is for future reference. You know, when you're looking at a tornado warning or whatnot and say, hey, you know, maybe, you know, this isn't going to be that bad. This just proves that anytime a warning comes up, you should always, you know, heed those warnings and just be safe, because this shows the devastation it can leave behind. Many people, as mentioned, without homes, many people now without clothes, many people not knowing what they'll do next. I do want to mention that the mayor brought up that, you know, those early warning systems that came up, the sirens, you know, when those go off, listen to those. And he said that that's one reason why here maybe that we only had, you know, 2 reported deaths in East Nashville. He said that number could have been much higher if people did not heed those warnings.
Brent, how are the streets in that area? Looking at the pictures you're giving us, it looks like the debris has been pushed to the side and the streets are clearing up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to walk with you here, Derek. If we actually show, what we're seeing is a lot of the cleanup kind of build these little debris piles. You can see some trees, you know, wood, the insulation, and we're starting to see more and more of these around the neighborhoods as people start to clean up. But I do want to show this. Again, we're talking about the cars and the damage. We saw a tree over a car. Take a look at this. I mean, it shows you the strength of the wind, projectiles just being pelted into the window. A lot of the debris on the main roadways has been cleared out, but there's still a lot left. If you pan down here, Derek, you can see these bricks that were just pushed up against the car. I mean, there's flat tires. You're going to have to deal with cleaning up if you're a resident in this area, and then after that, you're probably going to have to deal with taking debris off of your car. So as we see there, Jimmy, thank you, Jimmy. He's going back to make sure that, you know, if anyone's driving by, they can get some food, get some water, and you can see his little man-made station there just to help out, waving people as they go by and making sure that if they need a charge and or a free bottle of water, he's there. So again, a testament to this community coming together in this
looks like
time.
too that most of the electricity is still out where you are.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and there's, you know, no knowing when this will turn back on. We've seen a few lamps in some of the homes, and it is a little bit chilly out here. So, you know, those donations for blankets and whatnot, those do go a long way. We've had a number of people coming up to us and asking where they can drop that all off. We do have some information on our website. But yeah, this is a very scary situation, especially in the dark. I can tell you I've never driven around in pitch black, and that's what we're doing here tonight. Every turn we're coming up against something new. As mentioned, this church, just one of the many. I've seen a lot of damage to these churches, and it's a sad thing. This just one of 3 that we spotted today, some in Germantown, this one here in East Nashville.
All right, Brent, thank you so much. I'm just looking at these images, and Brent, you've done a
heartbreaking.
fantastic job, and it really is heartbreaking. And I think what we're seeing right here, it just proves how long of a process is really going to be. Because first of all, you have the building, you have all the rubble. We got to clean that up. No telling what happens to the building.
And hopefully they can rebuild it.
Yes.
Hopefully.
And then you have the cars that are
Right.
lying out on the street, and then you have the projectiles that Brent showed us.
And the history that will be lost if this building can't be
it's-
saved.
It's awful. So we're going to be here for you, and we're going to all get through this together. I mean, this is heartbreaking to all of us. This is our community.
We continue to update new information. Linda Ong is at the alert desk. Linda?
Well, Bob and Erica, Justin, in the tornado's aftermath, getting a signal Wi-Fi in several parts of Middle Tennessee impacted by the tornado has been very much of a challenge. Now, Comcast is opening up its network of Wi-Fi hotspots to 3 Nashville area shelters for those who have been displaced. Now, the locations are first the Red Cross shelter at East High School on Gallatin Avenue, second Centennial Sportsplex on 25th Avenue, and Bridgestone Arena. Now, the hotspots are free for everyone to use, including all non-Xfinity customers. Now, for instructions on how to activate the Wi-Fi, we have that on our website, WKRN.com. Comcast is also saying its goal is to restore services to the areas impacted, but it must first receive clearance in order for restoration to begin. Back to you.
Thank you, Linda. Everybody trying to do as much as they can, as quickly as they can, and a lot of this stuff just takes time.
And I love that we keep hearing from survivors and people that heard it all happen, and they're helping each other out. Alex Dennis had the opportunity to speak with one of those people.
What are you thinking as you're walking?
I'm a native over here, so just looking at everything that's going on, it's like a war zone around here.
It really is.
It is. And, you know, obviously last night, the storm was last night, so to see it today, exactly what the real damage was, it's heartbreaking. It really is.
It's worse than 98, 99 when it came through. Like this is unbelievable just to see it, like where you grew up at.
Yeah.
And it's,
So where are you guys from, and where do you live now?
I lived on North 9th. That's where I grew up at. And so,
my family, they're on Neal Avenue right around the corner.
Yeah.
So the tornado in 98 actually came down that street. And so to see the same thing happen and now more destruction, even if you look at these houses behind us, they're saying that you can't even live in those houses, almost condemned within a matter of hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a complete tragedy for everybody involved.
Yeah. What do you think about this community being from this area? Everyone seems like they're rallying together already, just hours after this happened.
Hours.
I see you shaking your head, yeah.
Soon as daybreak came, people started coming out. They started helping. No matter where, no matter what the damage was, if they could lend a helping hand, they done it.
Yeah.
They did it. So it looks so much better than what it was just hours ago.
Isn't that unbelievable? We've
Yeah.
been here all day. I was shocked.
And that's just the love of the people in the community, all around Nashville. Actually, if you see from Madison out towards downtown, it's just nothing but love and support. Yeah.
What do you hope for the next steps in your community and for those that are suffering so much tonight when we know that there's now 25 people dead in Middle Tennessee?
just see the community come back, see it be rebuilt, you know, build off of it, get strength from it, you know. Things happen, you just one day at a time, and we can make through it. We can get through it. It'll come together.
Yeah, even for, I think strangers became family today.
Yes, they did.
They did. They became family. Just people you never even spoke to. Now you seem like you've been knowing them your entire life, and it's just the togetherness through tragedy. There is triumph. So I'm just thankful for that. And so the community will come back. It'll be more communication. It'll be more love shown, and that's just what it's about: support and family. So yeah.
Thank you guys.
No
Be
problem.
safe as you're walking around out here tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Alex, thank you so much. Taking it one day at a time.
Yep.
And today was day one, and we started, and I like seeing that.
Chris Bungard is with Governor Lee today. A lot of the recovery is going to be in the governor's hands, and he seemed really moved by what he saw today.
Well, I was moved by what that gentleman just said. Strangers become family, and that's sort of a theme as you've talked about. We've heard from people across the state and also from the governor, and he detailed a bit of that help that's headed to Putnam County.
There are counties from across the state that are sending resources, generators coming, pallets of water coming, highway patrolmen being dispatched to places where they're needed, shelters being put up all across the state to make sure that people have a place to stay tonight who have lost their homes.
Putnam County, we were just looking at right there. And Chris, a state of emergency was declared in the city of Nashville. What about the state? What has Governor Bill Lee told you about that?
Well, he said that if one hadn't been declared, it will be declared. I'm not sure it's as you know, as something that needs to happen as quickly as it does for Nashville. But definitely there's a lot of help that's going up to Putnam County. Another thing we were hearing about from the National Guards people, there's 12,000 soldiers and guards folks in this state. And the head of the guard said, we'll use every one of them if as need be.
The governor also promised updates, maybe not anymore tonight unless something is new that really develops, but we'll probably hear from him again tomorrow, maybe on several different occasions.
Yes, I would imagine that he'll be at TEMA headquarters very early in the morning. I think their first briefing, we haven't heard a time, but he doesn't live too far from there, if you know what I mean.
Did you see any worry on Mayor Cooper's face or Governor Bill Lee's face today? I mean, you spoke with them one-on-one. What was that feeling like?
Well, I certainly wouldn't say worry. Okay. They were
ready, maybe? Ready to get to work? Yeah, determined?
I think it was, they knew that when I talked to them, it was late afternoon, there was a certain number, and they knew that a lot of people were missing. And they warned that the death toll could go higher. Now, it hasn't really since then. In fact, it's been lowered. But they know this number of 88 or whatever it is still missing in Putnam County is very serious. And even if it's, you know, just a few more people, you know, we've still got a ways to go.
That may be the biggest concern of the night.
Yes,
search and rescue continues. That number still is pretty high. They don't really know where these people are. This is a very rural area. It's dark. There's no power out there. They're doing the best they can. And they're, you know, sifting through debris, collapsed homes, so that's difficult work.
And they're tired.
And they're tired.
I mean, you know, of course, you know, you don't feel that. You want to go, but, you know, mistakes are made when people get tired. But they will be looking literally under every rock, under every brick. But there is that, you know, you have to be careful of things like live wires and things slipping. Things falling on you, like you saw in the side of that building that could come down at any time where Brett was. You know, we don't know if there are people out in Putnam County that are by structures like that. And again, you talk about it being a rural area. You know, I mean, there are hills and hollers out there that may have been hit that we haven't heard from yet.
They may find more damage. And hopefully the thinking is that a lot of these people are just stuck in their homes with no power, no cell service. Let's hope that's true for the majority of that number.
Or they may, you know, be visiting somebody, you know, the next county over, the next day maybe out of the state for some reason, who knows. Yeah, that number will be one to watch overnight.
Chris Bungard, appreciate it very, very much.
Let's go back to Putnam County where Eric Egan is standing by. Any updates?
You got us, Eric?
Yeah, thank you guys. Sorry, a little miscommunication there. All right, we're working, obviously, talking with some of the local officials here in Putnam County. We've been bringing you updates about this list of people unaccounted for. It's on our website at WKRN.com. I was reading some names earlier. First, that list came in at 77 people. Folks here in Cookeville and Putnam County are trying to identify because they're still unaccounted for. While I was on air last time talking to you guys, that number went up. Not good. We do have some good news coming in. The number has dropped to 56 people. So that means If you do your math here, just over 21 people they are now accounted for. So great news there. I also can tell you this, no more fatalities. So the fatality number stands at 18 at the moment. That's been the same number throughout the day. There was some confusion there whether it's 18 or 19 between Putnam County and the governor's office. Again, officials here in Cookeville, they say it's only 18. In all, 88 people have been treated, and 70, again, that number from 77 unaccounted for is now down to 56. So if you're at home, maybe you're tuning into the broadcast for the first time, we have those names for you over at WKRN.com. Just spread the word. Officials here in Putnam County, they wanted us to get as much information out to the public as possible. That is not a grim scenario where all those accounted for tragically have died. That's not the case. So as we get more information and we get those names spread across the community, across the greater area, we're hoping the number comes down even more. That's what folks are focusing on here at the moment, guys.
Hey, Eric, I can see it on your face, some relief that some of these folks are indeed safe tonight, and the hope will be that the remaining 50 are as well, and that continues to be the main priority of all the folks there in Putnam County, to find and locate these folks.
No, and I'm glad you said that, because during the last press briefing, it was several hours ago, a few minutes after 6 o'clock, the mayor of Cookeville, he talked about it being the saddest day in the city's history. It's the greatest disaster in this for this community. It's a heavy number. I mean, that's a ton of people, and of course 18 is one death is too many. 18 is beyond tragic, and a lot of hearts breaking out here. But a lot of people should be commended for the service that they're giving. Still at this hour tonight, Brooke Reese has been here reporting for us. She's been out there with some crews from our sister station in Knoxville, with those search teams out there digging through rubble. You know, they're in a few subdivisions in the Cookeville area just down the street. So there's still work left to be done. They've made it through about 75% of the homes that they're setting out to dig through today. The work will continue tomorrow morning, but it's going at a pretty good pace right now, so they need to be commended. And you're proud to be a part of that, even though, you know, we're the media and we're bringing that information. We're trying to circulate it again as much as possible. To see them working and to see two guys from Knoxville Fire Department come in here, and we had a chat with them, and they were talking about their experience, and you know, they're wiping their foreheads of sweat and they're drinking water, and you just kind of communicate and you get that sense of community from folks all across Tennessee, not just Nashville or Cookeville or Putnam County, but you know, from all corners. It kind of makes you proud to be here, to really just to see how much people care.
Eric Egan bringing us a little bit of good news from Putnam County. We really appreciate that. 21 people unaccounted for are now accounted for. Still 50 people remaining unaccounted for. Let's hope we find those folks safe.
I think we needed to hear that
Yes,
information too. It gives us more hope. And Eric mentioned a little bit earlier, we heard from the Cookeville mayor. Let's listen back into what he said a little bit earlier.
This is the saddest and most tragic day in Cookeville, Putnam County history. The death, destruction, and devastation is literally unbelievable. Please pray. Pray for our families who have lost loved ones. Pray for our emergency responders as they have searched and rescued. And pray for our hurting community. But I can tell you we are resilient and we will get through this together.
You can tell how tough it is on all of our officials too when you hear that deep sigh and the
long
slow
hours.
talking.
They want to help somebody and they feel helpless sometimes. You know, we've been tracking this tornado since last night. It's caused a lot of damage in sporadic areas. One of the biggest hit areas here in Nashville is the Germantown area. News 2's Andy Cordan is there.
What a difference sunlight makes. It's now nighttime, and now dealing with this tornado, a whole different game. This is what the crews are dealing with. See the blue lights? Those are the police officers who are guarding the perimeter. See all those yellow lights? And there's a ton of yellow lights. That's the NES crews and all the subcontractors. And they are trying to illuminate this entire quadrant, because the entire quadrant, if you look at this side of the road, Hector, completely dark. So you're seeing me and you're not seeing anything else, because that building and like 6, 7 other blocks, completely without power. So they're going to be here through the course of tomorrow and perhaps days to come, because they told me earlier they have to deconstruct all of the damage, figure out what doesn't work, then bring in new equipment, and then set the poles back in, and then finally light this place up. So eventually you won't have all those blinky lights. But for now, this is the way Germantown looks, and you got hardworking guys out here giving it their all. In Germantown, Andy Cordan, let's send it back to you guys.
Thank you, Andy. Andy's picture there really showed the scope of this problem
Yeah.
and how hard NES is working and the power crews are working. It's just going to take time. They have to do it correctly.
A very interesting perspective. All right, Davis.
Yeah, we want to update people, you wondering what the strength of these different tornadoes
Yes, of
were.
course.
Pretty much of it, a lot of it was one tornado. But we want to start off with Davidson County and show you basically in East Nashville, it was classified an EF3 with 136 to 140 mile per hour winds. In Mount Juliet, also EF3, 155 to 160. Donaldson, EF3, 160 to 165. So that was the strongest strength that we saw there. Now back in Germantown, EF2, 125, and where it was first touching down in West Nashville near John Tune Airport, EF2 with 130 mile per hour winds. But we also originally had this storm drop tornadoes in Carroll and Benton counties, and in just north of Camden, north of the Walmart there in the northern suburbs, that was a EF2. They said the winds to be determined, but they said it was a strong EF2. Well, the high end of that's 135, so that's probably what they were going to say for Benton as well as Carroll counties. And also, if you might remember, we had tornadoes earlier in the evening in Kentucky. Crofton, Kentucky had an EF1 with 90 mile per hour winds. In Warren County, south through southeast of Bowling Green, EF2 with 115 mile per hour winds. Now, it was mostly EF3 damage. That's generally the track from John C. Tune right through Germantown, East Nashville, then through the Hermitage, Donaldson, Hermitage, Mount Juliet area, then pretty much paralleling I-40 right on to Lebanon, paralleling I-40 a lot as it went to Cookeville. Bob, you said Eric Egan said he saw a lot of overturned tractor trailers on his way to Cookeville. So, yeah, and so it kept on going. Whether it lifted or not in between is questionable, but since he saw a lot of those, maybe it didn't. And Smith County right on over to Cookeville and Putnam County. And by the way, the National Weather Service says that they'll probably, tentatively, they're planning to go to Smith, Putnam counties tomorrow, but they said that decision would be made tomorrow morning. A lot of it depends on their logistics and things that they have going on. This is a nice long time lapse, and yeah, the one right there in the middle of your screen. It's the one storm that dropped the tornado, or tornadoes, plural.
There, right?
Yeah. Talk a little bit about the parameters. We see the mile an hour differences between an EF2 and an EF3. Talk about the difference in damage that an EF2 versus an EF3.
Well, what's interesting is, we're all meteorologists, including my friends at the Weather Service, but they have to become trained in engineering science of buildings and different things. And they've literally got a handbook, okay? And it's telling them if it's a certain type of structure, a certain type of house, if it's a brick house or if it's a wooden house, if it's a certain type of, what do you want to call it? The base and the structure of it below. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know all these things too.
Okay.
But they literally had a handbook, and I remember the old F3. I remember if a train car turned over, and that's why it was F3, the old 98 tornado in East Nashville, but there was one train car overturned over near Charlotte Avenue around the Sylvan Park area on the train tracks over there, and they said there may have been a hair of quote-unquote F3 damage there. And that was the old F scale, but the main thing is it's utilizing engineering and not really meteorology. Dr. Theodore Fujita, the Japanese scientist who started the original Fujita scale, he's passed away now, but they've refined it to the EF scale, enhanced Fujita scale, just looking at more engineering techniques.
Each increment, though, an EF2 to an EF3 is more than just one spot. It's a big difference in damage.
It's a decent difference, and I wish I could name off exact categories for you without, but I'm not like a walking statistic. But when you're getting into EF3s, or even EF2s for that matter, I mean, you're getting into significant tornadoes, and we've seen people die in EF0s easily. And I remember, you remember the one in Williamson County that hit, what's the name
Christmas Eve tornado?
Well, the one that hit the park in the summertime, or in the late spring, summertime. What's the name of that park? Came in from the north. Well, anyway, it picked up, it was some people that were at the baseball park didn't even, do you remember the one I'm talking about? They didn't even.
The Crockett Park?
Yeah, well, no, wasn't Crockett. I'm blanking out here since we're improvising, but there was a car lifted up and turned upside down. And there were some people that didn't even know there had been a tornado, and they were at the park. So that's a freaky thing.
That is.
Okay, now there were kids and moms with little babies, car flying up in the air and falling over, and that could kill somebody, and that would probably be classified DF0. Because of what they had there. So it's an interesting science.
Looking at some of the damage from this EF3, it knocks down walls in Williamson County. This construction, Wilson
County,
This construction is just ripped off the side, thrown across the street into the trees. The whole
wrapped
warehouse
around
is just destroyed.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Davis?
I definitely could. You know, again, I'm not trained at using the handbook they have, but I'll just look at that with like EF3. You know, just looking at that. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
So, well, I'm looking at these random statistics. I'm just so interested in this email that meteorologist Mary May sent out a little bit earlier today. And one of the stats says Tennessee is prone to nighttime tornadoes from 1950 to 2005. 46 of our tornadoes touched down after dark.
We seem to be.
Do we know why? Is that because the temperatures start dropping?
You know,
I don't know.
It's a good question.
Random?
You know, I don't have a real good answer for it because when it's at nighttime, that's when you're at their coolest.
Yes.
But
yeah, that's what I figured.
most of our nighttime tornadoes are going to be in the winter. Okay.
Oh,
you know, when you go back to Super Tuesday, that was at night. You know, I'm trying to think of some of the other examples, but all the ones that were daytime that we remember, like April 16th, 1998, that was in the daytime. The Gallatin tornado in 2006, daytime. Murfreesboro tornado,
Germantown.
daytime.
Showing you some of the footage again.
Wow. You know, and they're saying that's EF2.
Yes.
Know? So,
which is crazy to think about because that looks like, well, to me, and again, I'm no expert, but I would think that would be an EF3 because that looks like some of the damage that we saw in Putnam County.
You see the cubicles, the roof has collapsed in on this. You know, structures like this, once the roof goes, everything goes on top of it.
You know, but your question, Erica, sort of fascinates me because I've thought about it before too. And in the wintertime, we have one of these things where you have low instability, but just a little enough, you know, and then you get this really big shear. Okay, and when we say the shear, that's the difference in winds from one level of the atmosphere to the higher levels, and that's what the engine is. And then you need the gasoline, that's the thermodynamics, to drive it all. But in the wintertime, you'll get very little thermodynamics, or just a little bit enough, and then you get this extreme shear. And Tom Johnstone, our old warning coordinator, who's now the meteorologist in charge in Tallahassee, Florida, I talked to him and said, what if in the wintertime, every time a cold front comes through, we have enough shear to create tornadoes? What if the dew point was 70 and the temperature was 85 in the wintertime with that shear? He said, you couldn't live here. There'd just be tornadoes all over the place. But in the wintertime, our dew point might be 45. You know, when a cold front comes through, you don't have that usually. But when you do, you end up getting these tornadoes. And just, it's amazing, though, Erica, you ask a good question. We have a lot of wintertime tornadoes at night. I can name off several different, more than 3 or 4 circumstances.
And I do have one last question, and Bob, you can join in to this conversation as well. And this might be difficult, but you know, I'm from the Midwest, and I know a lot of people, again, they're moving to Nashville. They weren't born here. They're not aware of how southern tornadoes can be. We're talking about EF2, EF3 tornadoes. In the Midwest, we're used to seeing EF0. So for those of you watching this right now, this might be the worst devastation that you've ever noticed. So I want to ask both of you, how would you scale last night's tornado compared to other ones that we've seen in the past?
It was a bad one. There's no question about it. It was a bad one. Was it the worst? I'm not sure about that. The April 98 tornado caused an awful lot of damage in East Nashville, more than this one has caused. It pretty much wiped East Nashville
The
out.
Macon County Super Tuesday tornado is the one that, you know, to me was the worst one in my career here in Nashville. And that was, 8 years ago. Of course, it was on Super Tuesday, ironically, although Super Tuesday back then was late February. This time it was the beginning of March. But either way, it was Election Day. Okay, and
and you can believe or not believe in climate change, but Tennessee did not used to be a tornado belt. It is now. In the last 20 years, we get more tornadoes than we used to get.
Yeah, we seem to be getting more tornadoes, and you know, there's a little bit of a caveat in the fact that now they've got the next red Doppler radar, and you know, we've trained all the emergency managers to report anything they see, so we get more reported to us. But at the same time, you know, I believe climate change has affected it somewhat because we're seeing so much more. Yeah, I mean, even without the other details.
Thank you so much. We want to go back live to Brent Ramonda standing by for us in East Nashville. You have just shown us some incredible images out in that area, Brent. It's heartbreaking.
Absolutely. I wish the sun was still out so I could show you just how devastating the impact is to East Nashville. We saw some of those images earlier, but the more we drove around, the more damage we saw. Now, you can see off in the distance, Woodland Street. The power has been out. Bob, to get back to your question earlier, you know, it is hard to navigate. Very dark roads. There's not a lot of light. We did, however, come down to Red Door Saloon East, and you can see the power is on. So it is a line, basically, the left side of the street here that we're we're looking at, completely dark, and that's the same case for the neighborhood. And then if you look down to the right, just on Forest Avenue there and beyond, the lights are on. I can't tell you right now if those lights came back on or if this area has been affected with the lights just from driving around, but I can tell you though that there are a lot of NES crews that we've seen driving around trying to get the power up. Again though, just I mean, a contrast in light and darkness here, just from, you know, a few feet away from each other. So that just gives you some perspective on how dark it can be one way with how light it can be the other. Again, you can see a lot of these power lines in front of us all over the place. These cars, you know, stopping, you know, some of the branches over the roadways. We've seen a few cars take a turn down a street and quickly hit their brakes because there's a tree down over one of the roadways or, you know, on a car or something like that. The good news is most of those roads have been cleared out throughout the day here, but again, just something to take into consideration as you're driving around. And again, hopefully the power will get back on very soon, because I know there's a lot of people out there, a cold night right now, dealing with a lot of issues and a lot of devastation.
Brent, a real contrast. You're seeing the complete darkness where power has not been restored, and then you turn and you see some of the lights coming back on. Are you seeing more coming back on, or has it been pretty static?
Basically where we've been on every area, you know, in Germantown, the lights were off and it looked like they'd be that way for some time. Here in East Nashville, it's the same thing. I mean, you got to take into consideration there are a lot of down power lines. You can see this one right here. And if you show across the street here, you can see that breaker on the ground. These poles have been snapped. You're going to have a lot of crews coming into these areas to put those back up. You know, we've covered down power lines in the past for, you know, maybe an accident, a car running into one before this tornado, and it takes some time, so you can only imagine. I don't know the number of poles that have been snapped, or, you know, the number of people without power at this time, but as you can imagine, it's going to take some time to get all this back up. Again, some people with generators out there, though, trying to help out in any way they can.
We see a lot of cars in the area. Seems like some folks are getting there, and we see those power lines. We're looking at them right now. Do we know that all those down lines are definitely dead?
I'm no expert in this. That's why we are staying far back from them. I've seen some people, you know, walking very close. Not the best idea, obviously. Never a good idea to approach any of these power lines. If you do see one in your neighborhood, certainly stay away. The other thing you mentioned, you know, it is very dark and there's people walking around. You know, we've come close to stepping on a few, driving over some. Yeah, so it's certainly something to, again, take into consideration as you're driving around. Again, I'm not an expert, but I would say certainly stay away. You never know if these things are hot.
Listen, Brent, none of us are experts, so I'm glad you added that. And all those people driving around, I'm just going to say I think people should be staying home right now. And that's what officials have been telling us too. Stay home and get off of the roads, because those the lights, many of them, the power's out and they're not working. So then you have to worry about crashes, and you have to treat those as a four-way stop. Is that the law in Tennessee?
The traffic lights are not working, right?
Right. I mean, well, I just came back from Donaldson. I can tell you.
What was that like?
Everything was pitch black. Yeah. I mean, where we were in the rubble, I mean, there was, you know, tons of devastation. But during the day, it was quite a different story. There were so many people helping out.
The devastation was amazing.
Yeah. It was an EF3 tornado, but very close to an EF4, very high-end EF3. And I mean, that does so much destruction. By the way, I got to show you this video. This is the video of the actual tornado at downtown Nashville. Now, this is from Sam Schamberger, I remember, right? If I'm saying that right.
Yes.
And you can see that with the power flashes. As you can see, it's on the ground there, currently creating a lot of damage. So this was so impressive. This is what we got first. This is when we knew, uh-oh. We're in trouble here, okay? So we're on air for this. You know, this is around 12:30 in the morning, and then this continued, and we noticed there was a violent, large tornado on the ground, and this continued from there, jumped into East Nashville, continued to strengthen, and then moved right into Donaldson, where it strengthened again. And, you know, this is all at night. Well, most people are sleeping, so we were really nervous. You know, Davis was with me, Mary Mays was with me. We were just worried that we were hoping people were waking up and taking the warning seriously.
You were there all night keeping everybody safe, and I know a lot of our viewers appreciate you for that. But when you saw how far that tornado was tracking, I mean, do you get nervous at that point? You're like, geez, when is this thing going to let up?
When is it going to, yes. I mean, especially since this tornado warning actually kind of started in the western side of the state, and we were thinking, okay, once
it fizzled out at one point.
Right, we thought, okay, we're going to be all right. right. It's not going to be, and then it turned right back up right around West Nashville, and then things started getting really scary, and especially when you see it, when you see that picture of it, whoa, that's on the ground, that's big. And then to know that it's, 12:30 to 1:30 in the morning. Now, I will say, being out in the community today, talking to so many folks, they actually did listen. They had their phones in the on position. They got the tornado warning, and they got up, and they went in their safe zone. And, Donaldson, they didn't have, where I was at least, knock on wood, no injuries and no fatalities.
It's incredible when you see those pictures. This is Donaldson here, and just look at this. Some of these places are flattened. Look at those trees, how they're knocked down. You can see the force of that wind as it came through. 160, 165 miles an hour.
And that can do a lot of damage. I mean, most of the homes there, they were knocked off their foundations completely. Now, I will say most of them had basements, and I think a basement can save anyone from a storm. That's the best place to be when there is a tornado warning.
School was hit.
The school, yep, the DCA was hit, totally hit. In fact, talked to one man, okay, he is probably several football fields away, and he had some of the bleachers from the softball field in his backyard. And literally, he was like, where is this from? And then he saw another blue thing coming from that school.
That's insane. And we saw that with some pictures, too.
Yes.
Random picture. Did you find any where you were today? I know Stephanie Langston found one. It was a wedding photo, I believe.
Yes,
and
well, a lot of people were finding things. They were finding, different personal memorabilia and saying, what do we do with this? This is somebody's special stuff, but it's hard. What do you do with that?
Yeah,
I asked you when you were out in the field, you predicted all this storm and tracked it last night. Then when you got out there, was it different than what you thought? Was it more extensive than what you thought?
I think tornadoes are just so impressive.
They're
Mother
so
Nature,
strong.
they're strong, and you don't, you're saying it on there, and I think I tried my best, and people said that I really got serious and said, folks, you need to call your friends now, phone them, wake them
This
up.
is Putnam County, Cookville, the damage there.
And when it went there, it got really serious on the radar, and I haven't been out there, but seeing the pictures, seeing this video here, Cookville was flattened in a lot of spots and very, very severely hit. And
Eric Egan is in Cookville, and he drove all the way from
Right.
Nashville to Putnam County, and he said you could see damage the whole way up I-40, trees down, debris on the interstate, tractor-trailer rigs knocked over, the extent of the storm and the power of that storm.
Well, it literally trailed I-40 from Nashville all the way out there. That's where we were watching the tornado warning form, and we were doing the tornado warnings, I think it was 2:45 maybe in the morning, somewhere around then. I can't keep the hours straight, but this was basically a 9 o'clock thing all the way to 3, 4 in the morning.
Okay, so stemming off that last question, Bob, you were driving back today, and Chris made a good point. Since it was so close to I-40, when you're driving back, can you even read any of the signs, or are they all just mangled?
Well,
do you know where you're going?
Well, that's one of those. That's what, when we were even on air earlier this morning, we looked at one of the traffic cameras. We're like, well, that sign's down. That's not right. Okay. So that's when we were like, okay, it definitely took a lot
More
of
East Nashville videos, Danielle talks.
Oh, East Nashville.
5 Points area,
Yep, that area got hit very hard too. So it just, just seeing all the devastation, it's really sad. I will say one of the things is it's really sad, but then going out to some of these people, just, being out there, you guys saw it, you saw us talking to so many of these folks. They're just so happy to be alive.
I know. And the positive, even more positive side, the folks that came out today to volunteer to help already with chainsaws. We heard them behind you during your live shots. They were clearing debris. They start immediately to try to get these people's lives back
and
together.
I'm thinking, okay, this guy must have paid these people to come on in. Oh no, they're volunteers from the church just showed up and said, hey, we're going to patch up your roof so you're okay. Just in case the rain comes a couple days from now, you're going to be okay. And they went through and they were working well through the night.
That's incredible.
That's in Germantown, Danielle.
That's Germantown. Some of these I'm missing.
Yeah,
this is what I said. I can't wait to see the daylight because this is going to be really, really impressive, and it's just really, really scary stuff.
That was an EF2 tornado, and I told Davis, to me, I feel like I'm an expert now talking about this all day. That looks more like an EF3 tornado, but it's just the different wind speeds, and I know you're dealing with a lot, and Davis was talking about how you have to learn about the engineering of the buildings and what have you, but just looking at that devastation, and then this is in Wilson County, I believe.
That's Mount Juliet.
Mount Juliet. This is Mount Juliet. Man, that roof flattened.
From what you saw in Donaldson, an older neighborhood, mid-50s, 40s when they were built, how many of those houses are gone? It looked like a lot of them were gone.
I would say, I don't know how many were in the subdivisions, but there were several, it was a big one.
Pretty big, yep.
A couple of dozen homes definitely, if not totally destroyed, partially, but a lot of folks saying totally destroyed.
We heard so many survivor stories too. Thank you for bringing those to us, because I think we need that during this difficult time. And I think today just showed everybody how precious life really is. Unfortunately, we lost 24 people to this storm, and we keep saying it could have been a lot worse though.
Well, a lot of folks are really, really kind and congratulating you and thanking you for staying on all night. They said it on air, they've said it in emails, they're thanking us for what we do. You're the guys who do it. You're the experts who try to tell these people it's a dangerous situation. A lot of times people get angry with us that we're interrupting programming, but then this happens and they kind of go, you know what? Maybe they were right to tell us we should pay attention.
I don't
glad
think
you added that, Bob.
I'm glad you added it. I think they were very mad at me for The Bachelor. By the way, doesn't that air again at 12:06? So we're okay, or we'll be all right with that
but
one.
Then the damage like this happens, and if the warning isn't out there, you're talking hundreds of people who die.
Oh, 100%. You saw how, you saw that. Everything was leveled. If they didn't get that warning and they didn't hear that, they would have,
It's so scary.
it could have been really catastrophic.
It really is. Just talking about it, and
I'm just very thankful, and I just want to say to all the viewers, thank you, and make sure you pay attention to if now you're thinking, pay attention to the warnings. When we come on for that tornado warning, we're not coming on just to break into your programming. We're coming on to make sure the threat is there until the threat is gone, and we're going to keep you safe.
And sadly, we're in March. We're getting into tornado and thunderstorm season. It just really started.
April technically is our month where we get the most tornadoes.
I was wondering about that.
That's what I was going to say. But you know what? We've seen now in recent years, February, March.
A lot of winter tornadoos.
Right, because we're getting warmer winters. And unfortunately, that means severe weather starts sooner.
Okay, so we have to stay prepared and download that News 2 weather app. That is
will
so important.
help you. Yes, it will indeed.
All right.
Let's go to News 2's Andy Cordan. He is in Germantown, where some of that damage occurred earlier today. Andy?
Everywhere I go, there's a story. A hole in a wall, certainly a story, right? This is Germantown. It's a house. Young man was sleeping right here. His friend said, "Get out of here." Suddenly this happens. Could have been his head had he been here. This is the lady that owns a house, Lisa Stetter. What is this house, ma'am?
Well, it's actually a nonprofit organization called Crossroads Pet Shop and Adopt. So we provide job training, employment, and housing for young adults. So we had 4 residents up here sleeping up here last night.
Talk about the close call right there.
Sure. So the young people were up here, and several of the residents were in the hallway, and they were talking to Joseph, who's in this room, and he was thinking it wasn't going to be a big deal, so he was hanging in here, and they insisted that he go into the hallway, and almost immediately afterward, something very large came through that and left a huge hole, and probably would have done him some severe harm if they hadn't gotten him out. So his friend saved him last night.
I've been in Germantown about an hour. I've already heard 3 miraculous stories. Yours is certainly one of them, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we also had an adoptable dog escape in the storm last night.
You get it back?
We got her back today, so another miracle.
Good deal.
Good
so,
stuff.
Hector, I'll just say, you can now get some air conditioning here in Germantown, but they have a lot of cleaning up to do, but there's also a lot of great stories. We're going to keep telling them. Andy Cordan, back to you guys.
Thank you, Andy. Germantown will clean up. East Nashville will clean up. It'll all recover, but it's going to take some time. And it is a serious, serious day. We lost 24 Tennesseans today. They're still searching for about 50. A little bit of good news that Eric gave us. They found 21 more people since we last talked with you. They're accounted for. So the good, the bad. These people are resilient. Tennesseans will help each other, and so we'll get through this. But there are still injured people. There are still areas that are being searched and rescued. A lot of activity still going on in the dark of night. A lot of power to be restored yet.
By the way, that list that you were mentioning from Putnam County, we do have that listed for you on our website. That is WKRN.com. If you want to log into the website right now, take a look at that list so we can try to get that number down even more. And what you're seeing right here is more aerial footage of what we're seeing. And I don't know, I've probably seen this maybe 4 times. But Bob, it's still tough to look at.
It's amazing how much force that storm has when you see all those planes just bundled up like toys. And it wasn't just Nashville. It was Benton County. It was Putnam County. It was Wilson County. This storm had a track of about 75 miles, and throughout that area it caused extensive damage. It caused loss of life. All of these communities are suffering. People are mourning the loss of their loved ones and trying to recover, and that's what the next process is going to be.
More than 5,000 people have already offered to volunteer, we're told. And if you're watching this and you want to somehow help out with this situation, I know that blood centers, they are in need of blood. You've got the American Red Cross, Salvation Army, Second Harvest Food Bank. And then if you're sitting down right now, perhaps you have your phone in your hand, you could text Relief 2020 to 41444. Again, that's Relief 2020 to 41444. 444, and then we have more resources, again, posted on our website for you. I mean,
Hands on Nashville,
we
taking
have so
names.
much information, and it continues to come in, and we're getting new numbers, and we've seen, thankfully, when we started anchoring today, the number of people without power, it was in the 50,000s. Now it's down to 42,000. So the power crews, they are working so hard as well. So are our first responders, and hats off to all of you who are working day in and day out, and this is going to be a long process.
Stay with us. Our coverage continues right now on News 2 at 10.
Sometimes in our life, we all have pain. We all have sorrow.
77 unaccounted for still at this hour.
We do ask for your prayers for that, but we will recover.
And it's just really kind of a sombering sight to see.
They still have to dig, though, through this rubble. They have to dig possibly into basements. The hope is that there are some survivors.
Little pieces of wood hit him in the head as he was trying to get up away from it.
We're surviving, and we're making do as best we can.
It's been a long night, a rough day. I just encourage people to rest up for the night.
This closet saved your life.
Yeah, I guess it did.
In the dark hours of the morning, they put their life on the line for us. I cannot begin to thank these first responders enough.
Put that head up, let's go to work.
The Lord was with them. That's the only thing you can say. Yeah, because the whole house is tore. It'll have to be tore down.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of this deadly weather day. That music we started with from tonight's vigil at Public Square Park in remembrance of the 24 souls lost today because of this deadly storm. Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Mueller with Erica Francis.
Those images we just saw are so telling, and honestly, that brought tears to my eyes. Some of those images we were seeing for the first time. To start our coverage tonight, we want to send it on over to Putnam County. That's where our Eric Egan is standing by. Eric, any more good news for us?
We do have some good news. You know, I'm going to lead with that. I wasn't going to lead with the good news, but guys, I am going to now. We've been talking all night about the 77 unaccounted for folks here in Putnam County and Cookeville trying to reunite families. That number went down to 56 about 20 minutes ago. It's now been lowered to 38. Wonderful news. We also have that list at WKRN.com. I was reading some names earlier as well. Recap it real quick. 77 now down to only 38 more unaccounted for. Please go to our website, check out those names, call your loved ones. There's a number attached to that list. It's helping people here in Cookeville really just get ahead of everything that happened throughout the day. What I was going to say, guys, around 2 a.m., several hours ago now, everything changed for this community. Earlier, about 6 p.m. today, there was a press conference here behind me. The Cookeville mayor, he called this day the saddest day Cookeville has ever seen, and it's obvious why. A tornado just ransacked this community. 88 people have been treated for injuries at local hospitals. 18 people are confirmed dead. Among the dead are kids. Among the dead are whole families. It's something. That part, the people here, they're never going to come back from that. But they're already searching. They're trying to find survivors. They're still at this hour trying to find survivors. They're already making a plan to rebuild. If we haven't ran it yet, let's run some of that video from earlier tonight. So initially about 250 crew members were out there searching. You know, they're digging under houses. They're moving rubble, moving debris. The number is down to 60, but late into tonight, they were still working hard, trying to find people, any sense of life across about 3 subdivisions where this tornado, again, it came through and people were were asleep, and it just battered this area. So they're still searching tonight. They're about to wrap up. In fact, it's just about wrapped up. And then they're going to come back in the morning. I did want to make note of this as well. There's a field that's adjacent to these neighborhoods, and it's about 20 acres in size. And once it got dark today, the teams, they couldn't search it, and there's a fear there could be some victims in that area. So that's something they're going to check out again when the sun comes up, of course. We've received word tonight, Senator Marsha Blackburn, she's going to be here tomorrow. It's also believed that President Trump will be visiting Putnam County and Cookeville on Friday to get a scope of the devastation here. Finally, you know, the kids were lost today, guys. Moms and dads tucked their kids in at night. You know, there was a sense of security, and that's what they should feel like. And you know, if you have kids, you go through that routine. And when something like this happens, it's so heartbreaking because there's just nothing you can do. And that's what a lot of these folks were going through. We talked to the mayor tonight. He said, please pray for us. You know, send help, send your supplies, send your volunteers. Thank you. But please pray for us as well. Finally, there's a shelter too. Before I send it back, the Red Cross has opened a shelter on First Baptist Church over on Walnut Avenue. So there's a lot of ways you can help. There's a lot of places you can go to if you need help. So that's kind of the situation at the moment tonight in Putnam County, in Cookeville. They're trying. It's a step-by-step process. It's going to be a long one, but they're fighters here, and they're trying to keep their heads up, guys.
Eric, terrific job. Let's bring it back to the beginning and the good news. Those 21 names off of that list, we know they're accounted for. The search and rescue effort continues tonight. They're still looking for at least 50 people, and hopefully the same thing will happen. Those names will pop up. Any new information about that search effort tonight?
Yeah, just to reiterate, Bob, the unaccounted for list has dropped to 38. So isn't that fantastic? We started a couple hours ago. It was 77, and while I was on TV, we got word it went even higher. It's been down. It's been lowered to 38, and it's been lowered because all of these people have been accounted for, meaning there are no deaths to add to that 18 number death toll. So that's fantastic.
And I do want to reiterate, Eric, officials told us a little bit earlier, they don't believe all of those unaccounted for people are in danger right now. It just could be that they don't simply have cell service, correct?
Yeah, they don't have cell service. Much of the day, cell phones were down. If you were in the area that kind of got the brunt of the damage, you couldn't make a call. You couldn't, you couldn't surf the internet on your phone, whatever it might be. Or maybe people are just at home with loved ones and they're not watching TV, or they're not logged on the internet and they don't know. And maybe they're just, they're clinging tight to their family after what they experienced last night and into this morning. You can't blame them for that. But if you are happen to be watching tonight, and you can go to WKRN.com, we have a list of the unaccounted for. It was at 77. It was dropped to 56. Only 38 now. So help us check the rest of those names off that list.
One more time, quickly, the drive from Nashville to Cookeville. What did you see as you tracked basically the path of this storm?
And you saw it. Exactly, Bob. You saw the track. You saw the power lines down. You saw a ton of power crews working hard, and you're driving by and it's bumper to bumper traffic, so you can kind of see what they're doing, and you're seeing what they're going through as well. And then you get the scope of the damage because, your eyes are on the road, but you turn your head and you see just tree after tree after tree, like somebody stomped on these trees like they're bushes. It's pretty scary when you take a second to process what happened and just the strength of the tornado to blow through, just to follow that path all the way from Nashville all the way to Putnam County here.
Eric Egan bringing us a little bit of good news out of a tragic situation. Great job, Eric.
Eric, thank you so much. Now we want to go live to Brent Ramonda. He is standing by for us in East Nashville. And Brent, thankfully, and I want to say thank you specifically to you. You have been moving around so much, giving us different perspectives of what you're seeing in that area.
Absolutely. We want to give the viewers, a first-hand hand of what's going on out here, specifically the neighborhoods that we're in. We started in Germantown late last night, and then we moved, all around to North Nashville. Now we're here in East Nashville on Woodland Street. And I want to get back to the fact that, these are people's lives that we're seeing all scattered throughout. There's building, pieces of wood and roof and whatnot, but we've seen a number of trinkets that people have in their homes, toys of kids that are scattered as well. And the last thing that we came across was someone's wallet. I actually picked that wallet up and brought it down to the officers down here at the end of Woodland Street there with the Juvenile Crime Task Force, and they took that wallet and said that hopefully, they'll be able to return that to the rightful person. Obviously, a lot of people losing a lot of their belongings. The next thing I want to get to is the fact that so many people are compassionate. They're coming out here, lending a hand. Those officers actually asking us if we needed food. We said, no, give that to the people in this area that certainly need it. But it just shows you how giving everyone is in the face of this tragedy here. As we go around, though, there's so much damage. It's really hard to fathom just how possibly, these tornadoes could do so much damage. But obviously, that certainly is the case. Now, I do want to point out, as we mentioned earlier, these streets are very dark. I actually want to turn off our light here just to give you some perspective. You see the flashing blue of the police officers, but I mean, if you've got a car and the lights are on, certainly you're going to miss out. But there's a lot of people walking around, and it's pitch black besides the police officers flashing lights, and some roads don't even have police officers. So again, just a word of warning to anyone out maybe driving. There could be some people that are out walking, so certainly take that into consideration. And then obviously these down power lines off to the right here, very hard to see, especially in the dark. And again, we will continue to go check out the damage. If you have some damage in your neighborhood and you want to talk about it, certainly bring that up. Tweet at us, let us know, especially if there's maybe some down power lines, a tree or something like that that's causing some harm. Because again, I said it once, I've said it again. I feel like a broken record at this time, but there is a lot to clean up. It's going to certainly take quite a while.
Brad, I want to reiterate one more time, it is dangerous out there still, but we see Metro Police and the lights on and patrolling. They're doing a great job protecting people if they can protect themselves from themselves.
Absolutely. Every neighborhood, as I mentioned, they want to let people know that they are out in force. We've seen some bicycle officers as well, and just making sure that this community knows. Here in East Nashville, over in Germantown, those are the two that I can specifically talk to, letting people know that they are there. As mentioned, they offered us some food. I'm sure that they're offering, residents food as well, water, whatnot. If you need a hand, go talk to these officers, shake their hands. They're trying to keep us safe. Obviously, a lot of people going through a lot, especially the ones who have lost their homes. But, they are out away from their families right now, trying to make sure that this community stays safe.
Brent, and we want you to stay safe as well. Thank you so much for all of your reports tonight. We do appreciate it.
And we continue to get updated information. News 2's Linda Ong is at the alert desk. Linda?
Well, Bob and Erica, a lot of questions surrounding water safety in the impacted areas by the tornado. Now, according to the City of Lebanon's Public Services page, the department is reporting no damage to its water supply and also its wastewater treatment plant. So good news there. It says that the water is safe to drink, but they are asking to conserve water. So they suggest postponing washing clothes, take quick showers, avoid baths if you can, and don't wash your car. And of course, that culminating with everybody joining in will possibly help. Back to you.
Linda, important information. Thank you so much for that update.
This is Capitol Hill reporter Chris Bungard back after talking with the governor and the governor touring Putnam County. We know that not only were there deaths, but there were a lot of injuries out there as well. About 88 people were injured.
Yes, and we got some numbers here that I don't know if these have been shared. 38 are at Vanderbilt University Medical Center in Lebanon, but 3 are very critical at Vanderbilt University Medical Center here in Nashville. And this comes after we talked to another member of the governor's administration, the National Guard. Top National Guardsmen talked about what the response is up in Putnam County.
Plain and simple, we have 12,000 soldiers and airmen that are citizens of this state that are serving in the National Guard. We will make every last one of those available to our communities on an as-needed basis. As the governor said, we've already deployed guardsmen, both Army and Air, in multiple locations, Putnam County primarily. We have debris removal teams that we're moving in from West Tennessee, and then the wing in Knoxville.
And before we get more to those pictures, Chris, I want to talk more about that state of emergency. And I know you're still trying to figure out whether the governor is declaring a state of emergency, but our mayor, Nashville Mayor John Cooper, he declared a state of emergency. So how does that work?
Well, he did, and that frees up some you know, I
Funding
believe
for
he
overtime
needs.
for police
Yeah,
officers,
it's basically something that is by law that will help in paying for all this at some point down the line. Now, your question about whether a state emergency needs to be declared at a state level, well, we're in a state of emergency.
Yeah.
And, you know, the calls from the president that the governor got, and also, you know, the call he got from the head of FEMA, Federal Emergency Management. I mean, you know, those kind of things are already in place. The balls are, you know, rolling, and there should be people up there, I would imagine, on the ground as early as possibly
And
tomorrow.
as you just talked about, National Guard's troops are there. There are more ready to go if need be.
Yeah, I mean, he said every last one of them, 12,000 in this state. And these are people who live in communities all across the state so they can get to these places quickly. And it'll also, it's other places as well as Putnam County.
I appreciate the insight.
Yeah, thank you. We're looking over some aerial footage right now, and this is just unbelievable. You look at all of those houses, many of them, they no longer have roofs, and you could see those trees all kind of aiming towards the left side of your screen, all heading the same direction due to those strong winds and the roadways. I mean, we saw traffic backed up for miles today, and schools, that's what you're looking at right here.
Mount Juliet Christian Academy, you can see the devastation there. It's going to be closed for a while. It's going to take a lot of repair. It had a lot of damage. Thankfully, no students were there because it's hit in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we were talking about that. That would have been just absolutely devastating if it happened during the day. And this all started at what, 12:30?
Yeah, the warnings came in even earlier, but this hit about 12:30, 1 o'clock. This is the Germantown area, North Nashville, 2nd Avenue. Look at that devastation.
Horrible.
That building is just gone. Some of these are older buildings. Some of them are renovated buildings. There's some new construction in Germantown. It all took a hit.
And I want to talk about these apartments that we continue to show. So not only are so many people displaced tonight, they no longer have a home, which is so unfortunate, but I want to talk about the businesses too. Let's talk about the business owners. I mean, now they have to rebuild, and all of the workers that they have, what do? Do they need to just go find a new job?
A lot of people without a paycheck for a while. It's going to take a while to
Scary.
get all those things fixed. It's going to, you can see the strength of this. See the windows? That's the side of the wall that's knocked down. You can just see how it was pushed over. The strength of this tornado as it rolled through. This is East Nashville, and again, look at the windows are gone on those buildings, blown out. Some of the roofs are beginning to be torn apart. A lot of damage in Germantown and East Nashville, specifically when this tornado came through heading east.
And that's where we find News 2's Alex Dennis.
So we're here in East Nashville, and I wanted you to check this out. The size of this tree, this root system, just to give you some perspective, I'm 5'10", and it is taller than me. It peeled back this sidewalk. We were here in this area earlier during the daylight, took a tour of a couple of these homes that are destroyed on the inside. And what is unbelievable to me that just hours ago, this tornado ripped through the area, but now we already see that these homes are boarded up, there's tarps on the roof, and these emergency crews with the power companies have been working around the clock. A major thank you to them. Yes, the power is still out here in East Nashville, but we've been out here since about 8 o'clock this morning, and they have been too, around the clock trying to restore this area. And you know, a lot of the people that we spoke to, they just have such a great sense of pride about their neighborhood here, the camaraderie and the community. They say that they will rebuild, they will be stronger than ever, and they will work around the clock, just like those emergency crews and responders are doing as well. So we'll send it back to you guys, but a lot still going on in the evening hours here in East Nashville.
Alex, thank you so much. She has done an incredible job today bringing us the stories, and specifically the survival stories. We bring in meteorologist Davis Nolan. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what happened last night?
Well, one more, you know, I got the Bluetooth in my ear.
Yeah, you're busy, we know.
Well, we want to show you this track one more time. Literally, it's as far as when it touched down again. Remember, it started back in Benton County and Carroll County, went through Dixon and Humphreys counties, but didn't seem to be touching down there. So the Weather Service lifted the tornado warning, but then all of a sudden it tightened up again right around West Nashville, John C. Toon, and there it goes, the track, mostly EF3, but in Germantown, and it was EF2 in John C. Toon, EF2, but still very strong. And then the Weather Service is going to, they tentatively want to go survey the Smith County, Putnam County area tomorrow, but that's a tentative thing that they said that could change. But that's what they want to do. They got logistics to worry about, I'm sure, people, and then, of course, there's search and rescue going on over there. They may not want to get in the way of that. They'll make that decision tomorrow, but that's what they want to do. Now, I'm going to show you this time lapse once again. That storm in the middle of your screen, that's the one, that's the culprit. Watch how it starts over, actually in Gibson County, Carroll, Benton counties, across Nashville, then across Wilson County, Smith and Putnam counties, and that's the one that did it all. Now, whether it lifted a little bit between Wilson and Smith counties, we'll see when they get out there to survey. It might have stayed on the ground the whole time. We know it did lift, pretty sure it did lift between Benton County and Davidson County for a while, even though it had the circulation going now. What about the future weather? We haven't had a chance to do that. We're dry right now, but see the rain to our south? Yeah. We've got a lot of cleanup and recovery efforts going on here in Nashville and much of Middle Tennessee, and some of that rain just might skirt us. Nashville's going to be right on the fringe of it. Notice at 7 a.m., few scattered showers, mostly southern Middle Tennessee. There you are at 11 o'clock. Some of them may squeeze up to Nashville on I-40. Most of the rain south of I-40, but it's something we're going to have to keep in mind that we may get a few sprinkles there tomorrow, but that's more likely the further south you go down I-40. So overnight tonight, we are turning a little cooler, so it will be sort of cool in the morning in the 40s and maybe some 30s some outlying areas, especially east of here. And then tomorrow, 62, that's the best part, is that we'll probably be able to manage the low 60s, maybe upper 50s to our north and to our east. Now, what about the 7-day forecast? How long are we going to stay dry other than this shower chance from I-40 southward tomorrow? Well, we may still see some early Thursday moving out by lunchtime, mostly south and southeast, but still low 60s. Friday, we turn colder and breezy, and we'll struggle to get to about 50 for the high, but it will be dry. Saturday morning, we start out in the 20s.
Oh,
yeah, but Saturday afternoon, 53. That's nicer. Look at Sunday afternoon, 62. So we get a nice dry spell, really most of Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and even on Wednesday and Thursday, most of those showers I-40 southward. But the next significant rain chance comes next Monday and Tuesday. So that's really important with folks having
the good news with that forecast, no severe weather in it.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. Yes, exactly right. We don't have any severe weather in the forecast.
Davis, thank you so much for walking us through that. We do appreciate it.
Other events take place. Life goes on. The Predators play tonight. News 2 Sports Director Corey Curtis is here with what happened. Corey?
All right, well, Bob, the Predators lost 3-1, but the Nashville Predators flight for Minnesota last night beat the weather by about 1 hour, and the Preds organization was quick to offer its condolences to the city and, of course, commitment to the city and vowing to help people rebuild. And even before a huge game tonight, the head coach wanted everyone in Middle Tennessee to know, we are thinking about you.
Hey Smashville, Coach Hines here. Just wanted to reach out on behalf of the team and the organization and let you know that our thoughts and prayers are with you with the unfortunate tornado that happened last night. We're excited to hopefully have a good game and brighten some people's day. And when we get back to Nashville, I know we're going to do everything we can to try to make people's lives better.
Well, the NHL is rallying to Nashville's cause. The Preds' opponent tonight, Minnesota, donated $25,000 to Nashville relief effort. Their owner is Craig Leopold. He matched that donation of $25,000, and he, of course, has Nashville ties because he was the Preds' original owner. The NHL watched these two donations and said, we're going to match it. They gave $50,000 as well, and even the Chicago Blackhawks donated a portion of their 50-50 raffle tonight to Nashville's relief efforts.
So we got to say good things about the Blackhawks now.
I think so, Bob.
Got to do it.
Corey.
Got to do it.
Thank you so much. We want to go to Julia Palazzo. She was out working the morning shift, so she's going to give us kind of a perspective of what everything looked like right after the storm hit.
In the blink of an eye.
I grabbed a hold of rebar on the bridge and held it, and I was perpendicular. I was hanging in the air.
Hundreds in Germantown, displaced and terrified.
The ground started shaking, and it sounded like a freight train come through, and after it hit, we got it to go outside, and the whole back of the roof was caved in. The front of it's caved in. We have no porch, and all the houses down our street are completely gone.
Some with no power, others without a roof over their heads.
You know, we've met so many people here who've lost so much. I mean, there was one girl who lived, if you walk out on Jefferson to the Vista Apartments, and her apartment is the one that's missing. Her apartment is completely gone.
It was awful. Debris flying, metal bars flying, welfare office gone. My clothes, everything that I own is gone.
Just walking around the neighborhood to walk down here to Farmers Market was just appalling. I couldn't believe all the damage that's been done.
Several families and their pets
We've just got everything we could. We packed whatever we could, and we tried to save as much as we could.
And made their way to the Nashville Farmers Market earlier this morning, where a temporary emergency shelter was in place until the market eventually lost power. Then buses were called in to transport everyone to another location, the Centennial Sportsplex. Despite devastation,
I'm just terrified. I don't know what to do. I mean, I literally just paid my rent, yesterday, and I have nothing now. I have nowhere to go.
many just grateful they are unharmed.
It's just like life has changed amazingly just overnight.
In Nashville, Julia Palazzo, News 2.
That woman right there, she is so right. And our heart breaks for all of those victims, and our hearts go out to all of you who are impacted by this. Before we get to the next thing, I do want to mention we have so many resources posted for you on our website. That is WKRN.com. So if you're interested, you want any more information, head to our website.
Julia's piece really put a face on this tragedy.
I think so. Yeah.
Just as Brent Ramon has been covering this throughout the evening in East Nashville, and he has a survivor story as well. Brent?
That's right. We're on South 11th Street, and such a tragedy. So many people losing their homes and whatnot. The power's still out here. A long night ahead. We're joined here by Kevin and Dylan, and you live down the street from this. We were talking earlier. It doesn't even seem. It's surreal to look at when you walk by.
It is. It is. And Dylan and I are out here every weekend, and we go to the coffee shop every Sunday, and you see it on TV, and you know, when you walk these streets all the time, and to see this, it's surreal, and it hurts. You know?
said you've been out. I mean, you've got the glasses still on. You've been cutting wood, helping out. What does it mean to see neighbors helping neighbors who have lost so much?
It means a lot, and you know, Monell's. I mean, I can't name all the people that have given biscuits, apples, water, chicken, barn chain oil. I mean, you name it. You need it for the good cause or just because you want it. People were there to give it today, and hopefully it stands and continues. Yeah.
And Dylan, you're walking by the same thing here. You said you live down the street. I mean, to see these homes destroyed, does it even feel like you live in this neighborhood anymore?
I mean, it's real crazy because, you know, like you said, you kind of look around and you don't think it can happen to you, and then it comes to your community, and it's here. And I think, you know, the best thing is it seems like everybody around here is really talking about what they can do to help, and that's the most inspiring thing. And both of us are trying to do everything we can to get out and just, you know, clean it up, because, you know, we don't want it to look like this. It's sad to see our community, you know, look like this, and so we'll get it back up. It'll be good. We'll get it back to where it was.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us. I'll let you move on here, but again, I just want to point out the damage you can see behind. As mentioned, they go by this street every day, and it looks much different. You can see down trees, power lines. It looks like, you know, that wind just pushed everything up against these houses. A roof off to the left. I know it's hard to see in the dark here, but again, the power's still out. So hopefully we'll have some more stories of people coming together to clean this up. But again, this is going to take some time. Guys, back to you.
Brent, very quickly before you go, despite all the damage, and there's a lot of it, everybody you talk to has a positive attitude that we're going to recover and move past this. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Everyone, you know, lending a hand, trying to help their neighbors out, and that's what it takes to get through something like this. Obviously, a lot of tragedy, but with one brick at a time, kind of, you know, building things up. That's how you're going to have to basically clean up as well, because as mentioned, this is going to take some time, and this is going to take a lot of people coming together.
Brent, thank you so much for all of your reports tonight. Come home, get some rest. You deserve it.
Danielle joins us again. We've been on the air basically more than 24 hours straight now.
Yes,
and obviously, we appreciate your patience. We were trying to keep this community safe. This is important information, as you saw what developed today. We thank you for your patience, but this is the job that saves lives, and you started it early last evening.
Yes, indeed, we did. And I want to tell you that this started at 7 o'clock. For Kentucky, where we got 2 confirmed tornadoes. The wind, we started again about 10:45, 11 o'clock, and we kept it going. Davis was with me, Mary Mays was with me, Christina was with me, everybody was with me. And we were there till about 4 in the morning, I think, is when the last tornado warning finally went down.
And listen, Danielle, a lot of people, when they watch your reports, and we all say this, we always think it's never going to happen to us. How shocking was it that it actually hit Nashville?
I know. I mean that
Nobody was expecting that.
Nobody's expecting it. I mean, I will say they did put a tornado watch in that area, so it
that's right.
could have happened.
It took them a little while, but
it took them a while, but they did. They eventually extended that one east and right into Cookeville too. But you know, these storms, obviously, there was an atmosphere ready to go. It got juiced up. It started in Benton and Camden areas, that in western Tennessee, and then it moved.
Benton County.
Yeah, and then we had 2 tornadoes over in there in Carroll County, and then basically it continued to stay wrapped up. Weakened a little right before it got into Davidson County, and then all of a sudden tightened right back up. And that's what was really scary. It was just after midnight, so a lot of folks asleep. It's dark out. It's scary, and then we get that power flash, and we see the tornado on the ground.
There's Donaldson damage
Oh,
there.
and by the way, Donaldson, that's where I just came from. You know, I was out there all day, and you know, that was probably one of the worst hit areas. Although I think every area is hit pretty hard.
Putnam County, Cookeville looks really bad.
Bad too, and they haven't been out there yet to do that, and they're eventually going to figure out that strength of the tornado. But it was an EF3, 160 to 165 mile per hour winds. 166 makes it an EF4. I mean, this is a tornado that literally takes houses and breaks them apart. The only thing left standing was the basement.
So what's it like to see that in person? I mean, we're looking at these images on the screen, but I'm assuming it's not the same.
I mean, when you're up close and personal with it, I mean, I think I lost it a couple times. Yeah. I also think when I talk to people, I lost it a couple more times. But, you know, all these folks, you know, they're coming out of these homes that are no longer there, or they're going to be recovering that for a while. By the way, this is a video, just want to let you know, where we actually saw it. And that was very, very scary. That was a scary video. But these folks were in good spirits. Good
in the vicinity you were in Donaldson there, some of those homes were literally flattened, and no one not only was not killed, no one was hurt.
I mean, that is a big thing, and I think the one thing they did say is they did listen, and when that warning happened, they had their phone in the on position, they got up, and they went in the basement, and I think that saved a lot of lives.
And we have to pay attention to this severe weather because it's just starting, right?
It's just we're about to get into our season. I mean, April is when we get the most tornadoes. However, we've been getting a lot in February, we get a lot in March, but March, April, May, we get a lot of tornadoes here in Middle Tennessee.
This community will recover. We will now hug the victims as they pray for their lost loved ones. We will now move towards recovery. That begins tomorrow. The state is with you. The city's with you. Your partners and your friends here in Middle Tennessee are with you. We've seen all the people wanting to help. They will get everybody through this. This community will recover. Thank you for joining us for our coverage, and you have a great night.
If you live in Davidson County right now, you need to go down to the lowest level, a room with no windows. This is seriously very important, folks.
When you show up, nothing can really prepare you for that.
It looks like a war zone. I mean, it's shocking. I just try to go inside. You can't even get it through the inside.
And it looks like almost the worst case scenario, guys.
I was literally about to lay down to go to sleep, and my friend's phone goes off and says to take shelter.
We were home last night, and we have the Channel 2 app, and every time we hear Daniel Breezy, our dogs go crazy. So it kept coming on, and we got up, grabbed the dogs, saw everything on our deck go flying. We ran downstairs, sheltered in place, and when we came back, but walking around here and seeing neighbors with their houses gone.
The power crews are also out here trying to get the lights back on. So it's a mix of trying to make sure that everyone is safe and accounted for.
Now that the sun's come up, we're able to find a lot more of the damage here from last night's tornado. As you can see behind me, this is one of the roadways and parking lots here in 5 Points. Wood has been completely ripped off buildings and just torn down. You can see several of these cars must have been parked here overnight. It looks as if they've been picked up and dropped here. Their windows broken, doors opened, poles completely fallen on these cars. Absolute disruption here.
Yeah, the sky has been really telling and really heartbreaking. So we want to show you some drone video from photojournalist Armando Morales. It's pretty telling of the kind of damage we're looking at.
And the damage is just almost indescribable, but let's just do a little arc for you. That's the interstate over there, and we just talked to some truckers here, and they're down power lines, so watch these, Hector. But that truck flipped over. We just talked to a couple of guys that were inside of it. They told us they knew it was bad when the windows in the truck just started exploding out. And then there was a change in atmospheric pressure. Then they hit the ground and put a blanket over their head. And then they were breaking out windows to rescue people.
There are dozens of homes that have been completely wiped out, roofs off the top of houses. They just closed off this road. We're on Downeymead Drive, and they just closed off this road because the odor of the gas in the air is unreal. And they're shutting off the gas right now, so that we have gas companies, fire departments down there working on this right now. So that's the activity.
I'm here on Main Street in East Nashville. I kind of wanted to walk you through what's going on through the area. Crews have been out here cleaning, but we are seeing residents now coming out and assessing the damage. That sign has sat atop that building since about the 40s. So that's just one indicator that the storms that moved through this area were so strong. We have vehicles that are tipped up over on their side. I spoke to the Fieldhouse Jones owners. They flew in from Chicago earlier this morning. They said they could not believe the damage that was done in such a short amount of time.